You do realize what you are asking, Hayashi. The blood pact is one of the things that the Uzumaki clan does not joke about. The Uzumaki clan has never entered into a blood pact with any clan. Not even the Senju. The Hyuga would be the first, actually, but you understand the graveness of the situation. I would like to know your reasoning behind this, Kushina said with her arms folded. Hayashi didn't seem the least bit surprised. Hi, that is to be expected, Kushina. For one thing, the relationship that I have with Uzumaki Naruto was one decision. I consider the young man one of my greatest friends. A lot of the things happening to this clan would not have happened without him. I have realized many great things from looking at him and his accomplishments. I can't begin to thank him enough for what he has done for this clan. Hayashi spoke. Hinata slowly blushed while Neji smirked. Only because you helped me, Hayashi. Why wouldn't I help the friend who helped me also, Naruto? Said with a mere shrug of his shoulders. Hayashi chuckled with a small nod. Hi, that is true. However, another reason came to me in the form that the Uzumaki and the Hyuga, back during the clan wars, were previously enemies as well. If the Senju had the Uchiha, then the Uzumaki had the Hyuga. When I look at what Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama created from their two clans, then it makes me, shall I say, intrigued in what two former enemies can accomplish together as well. Hayashi remarked. The elders behind him seemed so surprised that they couldn't even speak. And you wish to have our Uzumaki Yukimaru marry your Hyuga Hanabi to fulfill the marriage proposal aspect, Kushina said, as it really wasn't a question. Buka sent a glance to Guren. She was amazed to see Guren taking it all rather lightly. Her face was calm, and her posture was non-threatening. She seemed fine. Buka placed a hand over Guren's. Guren sent a glance to her before noting the redhead's grin. Guren took a deep breath and returned the grin before looking forward. Hinata placed a hand over her mouth in shock while Neji rose an eyebrow. Hizashi sent Hinako and Hayashi a look, but he just noticed Hanako's smile. It didn't leave. In fact, it was even wider. Hizashi never understood his sister. To Kushina's surprise, Hayashi didn't seem the least bit fazed by her words, as they were indeed truth. However, I wish to make it clear right now. I only based this marriage proposal of the youngest because both are exceptional children. Keep in mind that while I look out for the interest of the clan, I will also be looking out for the interests of my daughter. This marriage wasn't born out of the want for powerful children, but rather from the bond of trust I wish for the clans to have. However, I will also emphasize that if either Hanabi or Yukimaru-san wish against it, then I am willing to try and find something to replace the marriage proposal if you are willing. I want us on good terms and to stay on those terms, Hayashi replied. Kushina slowly nodded. It was then that everyone heard chuckling. Everyone turned to see Yuri snickering. Yura sighed and nudged her sister. Gee, Gomen, I just find it funny, dat bayan. While we were in Uzushio, Yukimaru couldn't stop talking about wondering how Hanabi-san was doing. Sorry, I said something weird, didn't I? Yuri asked. Naruto and Kushina glanced at each other. Really? I was not made aware of this, Guren said, while Yuri rubbed the back of her head. Well, I kind of stumbled upon him talking to himself in his studies. That's all. But I don't believe he'll have a problem with it, Yuri replied. Hayashi's expression lightened up. Hanabi and I have been talking more. She talks mostly about Yukimaru-kun's absence from the team. She has indeed wondered where he's been lately, Hinata added rather shyly. Funny how these things work themselves out, Risa replied. Hinako smiled. Hanabi's always been shy about expressing her real emotions from what I have seen. I do believe Yukimaru-kun brings out some things inside her. Perhaps this is not a bad arrangement after all, Hanako answered. Most nodded in agreement with her answer. Very well, we'll run it by a family discussion. If Yukimaru agrees, then we agree. If Hanabi agrees, then that's great, Kushina had spoken. Hayashi dipped his head agreeing with her. That only lives the issue of which guys are going to get the blood pact seal, right? Tayuya asked. Hayashi sighed. Well, for our side, Hinata has already volunteered to share the seal. We're willing to wait for anyone if you wish for. Hayashi suddenly stopped as Naruto stood to his feet. Me dat bayo, Naruto remarked almost instantly. The entire room was stunned into silence. Kushina raised an eyebrow, as did the other members of the Uzumaki clan. Why, you shithead, Tayuya asked. Everyone just excused her crude language, which only served to make Risa sigh. If Risa had a verbal tic, then it just had to be a curse word. How lovely that her daughter took this much after her. Well, Hinata-chan and I have known each other the most out of everyone here. Plus, I trust Hinata-chan. She's strong after all, so why not? Naruto asked, much to Hinata's embarrassment. I guess that's our volunteer then, Kushina remarked. Hayashi nodded, thus ending the meeting. Hayashi and Kushina stood to their feet. Both proceeded to bite into their thumbs, drawing blood. The blood from their individual thumbs dripped into their hands. Kushina held her hand out. Hayashi did the same. As by the blood pact, the Uzumaki and Hyuga clans engage in the forever act of unwavering loyalty. Family in arms even until the world unravels. The blood pact is in effect, Kushina and Hayashi replied in unison. Both separated their hands. The meeting was adjourned. Hayashi moved to help Hinako to her feet, while others stood up and stretched. We'll iron out the details of the pact later. We'll also see how soon we can get started on your cage bird seal. This will be sorted out later, Kushina replied. Hayashi, in all honesty, was quite fine with that. It was much better to wait and see than to rush and regret. Understood. May you be safe, Hayashi told her. Kushina nodded as her clan filed out of the room, leaving the Hyuga clan alone. Well, this is all exciting. I can't wait to see where this will lead, Hinako stated for herself. No one saw fit to argue with her statement at all. Uzeshio Gakure. Rin-san, Itachi-san, Zabuza-san. I do believe that we have encountered a problem that needs to be addressed urgently, Karen spoke. Rin, Itachi and Zabuza gathered around Karen. What is it? We shouldn't have any issues considering the land's economic stability. Uzeshio has really never seen much more money ever since people started living here. It's become a rather permanent residence, Rin explained. Karen nodded rather slowly. Yes, that is true. But because this land is owned by the Uzumaki clan, people are more or less asking us to take missions. Some require escort and others require package delivery. It's become a complex thing. I've managed to stay off most of the subjects, but people are adamantly for us taking missions. Plus, please take a look at this, Karen said, handing them a scroll. Zabuza took it and unfurled it. With Itachi on his left and Rin on his right, he opened the scroll and peered at the contents. In all his years, this was the only time Zabuza had to give a double take from sheer surprise. Itachi narrowed his eyes while Rin blinked in wonderment. How is this possible? How is Uzeshio on the map? Zabuza asked, slamming the map on the table. As seen, the island of the Uzumaki clan and the 3 islands surrounding it. Karen flinched back as she nervous pushed up her glasses. It's not unlikely, Zabuza-san. In order to create even a small country, all that needs to be there is a providing ruler, a place, and a certain number of people, income and police force. Then that's what makes a country. Uzeshio has all those things. The only thing it doesn't have is a daimyo, Itachi replied. Yes, and that is why we have another problem. The Mizu no Kuni? Daimyo is here and wants to meet with us. Something about this island being one of the Mizu no Kuni lands. He wishes to negotiate a treaty of sorts between our daimyo and theirs, Karen answered nervously. Itachi, Rin and Zabuza stared at her incredulously. We don't have a daimyo, Rin exclaimed. Karen nodded gravely. Zabuza pinched the bridge of his nose. Itachi merely took a deep breath and exhaled tiredly. What a predicament this was. Kumoga Kure. A frowned as he looked down at the paper in front of him. His assistant, Mabui, held a look of pure shock on her face. She nearly dropped the notepad she had been holding. Darui just rubbed the back of his head. However, if one looked at his visible eye, then they would have seen the serious expression etched onto his face. Is this really what you want? There is no going back for you if you do this. I responded with a clenched fist on his desk. It was obvious that he was unhappy. In fact, it was obvious that everyone was unhappy except for the person.
Hi, I do this fully knowing the consequences of my actions. Reikage-sama, it has been an honor, he replied. Slowly nodded before holding out his hand. Everyone watched as the young man took off his Kumogakure headband and placed it in his former village leader's large hands. As he did, he suddenly found his hand grabbed by a. No matter where you are, or what you do, you will be the left arm of the Reikage always, sternly said to him. The man nodded with a small, appreciate smirk. Understood, Reikage-sama. I shall take my leave now, he said as he headed for the door. Darui's voice echoed through the room. The young blonde former Kumo Uzumaki stopped with his hand at the handle of the door. Darui didn't turn around.
Take care of yourself. We talked a lot. I know how much you wanted a family. No one is going to blame you for your decision, Darui voiced out. Since he didn't turn around, he didn't see Shi's hand shaking on the door handle. The young Uzumaki male bit his lower lip. So, go. We're not going to stop you, Darui implored. He heard the door open and then close. Darui released a breath, as did Mabui and a mole. No one said a word, and they weren't going to for a long while. Meanwhile, she exited the Reikage mansion. He made his way towards the Kumogakure gates. She chuckled dryly. Funny how this was so painful. He didn't think leaving would be this. Nothing could compare to this feeling. But this had to be done. Kumo had always been his main priority. But now he had another priority, and that was to his family. Yes, Uzumaki never abandoned their family. As she raised his head, he took notice of Fujikaze standing there waiting for him. I figured that I would pick you up, Shidano. Fujikaze spoke. She nodded. Hi, arigato Fujikaze-san. I have sealed all of my personal belongings and my house has been cleaned out. I am ready to leave when you are, she remarked. Fujikaze nodded before placing his sword on top of his shoulder. His long black hair flowed in the breeze of the Kumogakure mountains. Slowly, the two disappeared into clouds below and down the large mountain. As they descended, she took one last look at his former village. No turning back now. With Tara and Taji. Taji fell to her knees in surprise. She didn't even forget that she couldn't feel the ground since she was a spirit, but the look of surprise on her face was evident. Right at her side, if Tara were alive, then no double he would have released a bead of sweat from his brow. The sounds surging electricity assaulted their ears. For the past few weeks they had trailed Danzo. Nothing the man did was out of their sight. It was odd. He always met with some people that both didn't recognize or just went about his business, but never had they imagined that he would do something like this. This plan was insane. You need to go and inform Shikio-sama of this at once. I will stay and learn what I can. If this plan works, then there will no longer be an elemental nations, Tara spoke. Taji turned to her partner. You sure? I won't be reaching Naruto-sama anytime soon. Unlike his personal summons, it would take me longer to zone in on him as well as move around like we have been. If you're willing to wait, Taji suggested. There is no time for waiting, Taji-san. Get to Naruto-sama as soon as you are able and inform him about this, Tara instructed. Taji shakingly stood to her feet. Very well, Tara-san. I'll be back as soon as I can, Taji said before she quickly shot off through the ceiling. Tara watched her leave before turning back. He stared at the tube ferociously. Kami have mercy on the elemental nations, Tara whispered to himself. In front of him, water bubbled in a large test tube. 10 large test tubes to be exact. Tara swallowed the lump in his throat. This was bad. This was very bad. No, bad was putting it lightly. This was a disaster. Quote, when you get into a tight place and everything goes against you, till it seems as though you could not hang on a minute longer, never give up then. For that is just the place and time that the tide will turn, by Harriet Beecher Stowe. Read this carefully. It ties in somewhere with the story. Yukimaru sighed as he walked back to his family's compound. He and his team had just finished their recent string of D-rank missions, which the team had to have done ever since Yukimaru had left on business with his family. It was easily late in the evening that he was returning, and he hoped Guren wouldn't be too hostile towards him for the missed Finjutsu training. Over the time, Yukimaru couldn't help laughing when Hanabi and Juhi complained about the string of missions that they had to take, which ranged from picking up litter around the park to handing out flyers for her local restaurants or cafes. It's not like it all didn't bother Yukimaru. Even the somewhat gentle young Uzumaki wished for something exciting to happen in his life in terms of a mission. Perhaps he should talk about a possible C-rank mission for his group. Yeah, maybe Hanabi-san would like that. She often complains about the D-rank menial labor, Yukimaru said to himself with a smile, and a nod as he walked off. After some time, Yukimaru came up to his clan's compound and opened the main door. Yukimaru came through said door. "I'm home," Yukimaru called out as the smell of food cooking assaulted the senses of his nose. He looked overward to see Yura cooking some type of food before she registered his words. Yura turned around. "Welcome home, Yukimaru. Everyone is kind of scattered at the moment, but we're going to have a family meeting soon. It concerns you, you know," Yura said with a small smile. Yukimaru blinked at his cousin's words. He wasn't under the impression that he had done something wrong to warrant a family discussion of his actions. But if he had, then he would surely apologize for it. Oh, okay. I'll be in my room, Yura-san, Yukimaru said before leaving down the hall. Yura watched him leave before snickering to herself. That evening, until dinner had been served, Yukimaru had tried to go over anything that he had done that his family had to discuss. He hoped it wasn't seriously, though he supposed that this family meeting didn't just necessarily mean bad news. Perhaps it was good news, but he wasn't sure what they were going to exactly be telling him. Well, regardless of anything, he would just have to wait and see for himself. "I'm home, Dat Bayan." Yukimaru and Yura turned to notice Yuri come through the door with a wide smile on her face. Yukimaru couldn't mistake the grin on her face before her nose picked up the same food that Yukimaru did. "That looks good, Wani-chan," Yuri said suddenly, appearing over Yura's shoulder. However, Yukimaru could only chuckle as Yuri was instantly hit over the head with a ladle that Yura seemed to be holding. "No drooling over the food, Yuri. You're a mess. Go get cleaned up," Yura said with a smile while Yuri stuck her tongue out at her sister before moving herself to her room to wash up. Yukimaru shook his head as he watched his other cousin disappear. After Yuri came Fuka, Risa, Tayuya, Kushina, Guren, and then Naruto, in that order. In no time, Yukimaru watched his family seated at the table. Everyone began to eat. "So, Yukimaru, how do you feel about your team?" Risa asked with a small smile. Yukimaru blinked at the sudden question before speaking. It had caught him off guard, if only slightly. They're all great. We've been doing a load of D-rank missions around the village lately, but I think our sensei is going to give us a C-rank soon. I also like Juhi-san and Hanabi-san. They are great friends," Yukimaru with a small understanding grin. Risa and the others looked at each other for some time. Naruto grumbled to himself. "I still remember my D-rank missions. Stupid dogs," Naruto muttered to himself, much to everyone's amusement over his actions. As soon as dinner was over, the members quickly gathered around the living room area. Yukimaru swallowed the lump in his throat. Why did it feel like a death sentence was happening right now, and he had just had his last meal? As the members sat around him, Yukimaru spoke. Am I in trouble for something that we need this meeting?" Yukimaru asked. At his question, everyone looked to each other. For young Yukimaru, the silence was deafening to his ears until rambunctious laughter assaulted said ears of his. Yukimaru looked in surprise as Yuri doubled over while Yura snickered to herself. Kushina and Naruto chuckled, while Fuka and Guren merely smiled. Risa and Tayuya were perhaps the loudest as the mother-daughter duo fell to their backs in unison as they laughed. The fact that Yukimaru's face had a lost expression over it only added to their amusement. It was then that Yukimaru felt Guren gently pat his shoulder. "Don't worry, Yukimaru. You aren't in any trouble. However, we have something we must tell you which concerns your future," Guren said, getting the last few chuckles out of her system. Yukimaru blinked before he turned back to Kushina as she calmed herself down. "Yukimaru, how do you feel about the Hyuga clan?" Kushina asked with a small smile. Yukimaru remained silent. That was a pretty obtuse question for him. He wasn't exactly sure what he was supposed to think actually. Noting his confusion, Kushina cleared her throat. "Well, let me say this another way. How do you feel about Hanabi Hyuga?" Kushina asked. At this next question, Yukimaru couldn't stop the smile on his face, though the question still caught him off guard. Well, Hanabi-san is a nice person. She works hard and she's very interesting, I guess. It might not be nice, but she can also be very arrogant-ish at times, but I know that from the immense pride in her abilities. Plus the way she likes bananas is cute, along with her dislike of Mitsuba. She's a wonderful person deep down, I believe," Yukimaru replied with a warm smile. Kushina's smile gently reflected that warmth, as did everyone else's. Naruto bumped his mother's shoulder, getting a look from Kushina before she sighed with a nod. "Yukimaru, remember that meeting with the Hyuga clan I told everyone about? There was a reason other than your team meeting that you couldn't go. We were discussing the future of the Hyuga clan and the Uzumaki clan," Kushina explained, making Yukimaru nod. At this point, Naruto took over. "They called us to enter into a long-past clan ritual back during the times of the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. It was called the Blood Pact. In short, it is that we have a dying loyalty to each other that is so strong, nothing can break it. We are there to support each other when the other needs it, and we benefit from sharing our strengths and weaknesses. This is loyalty that not even most clan give to their village itself," Naruto stated, making Yukimaru's eyes go wide. He slowly nodded once again. "I understand that, I guess. But what does that have to do with me?" Yukimaru asked. Kushina turned to Guren for her to explain. Guren gently nodded. She had asked for herself to be the one to explain things her adoptive son, so this worked out better. Yukimaru, in the event of the Blood Pact, then the most traditional ways of having the clans together was engagement of the youngest of the clan. "Do you see what I'm saying, Yukimaru?" Guren asked, making Yukimaru widen his eyes. He now understood perfectly. He was going to be in an engagement. No wonder they said that there wasn't a real need for him to attend. They wanted his opinion after it was all over. "He engaged me to Hanabi-san?" Yukimaru asked, and everyone nodded, making Yukimaru frown as he looked at the ground sadly. "But it's basically deceit, isn't it? I'm not really a Uzumaki, just an adopted one. I couldn't marry Hanabi-san even if I wanted to," Yukimaru replied. Even now his frustrations came forward. He wasn't their actual family. He was just a kid that they all adopted. Trust him that he loved them all, and he saw them as his true family. But everyone knew the truth, so this was rather a moot point. It was then that Guren held Yukimaru's cheeks and turned him towards her. She then gently tapped high forehead with her own. "Yukimaru, you are a Uzumaki. Blood isn't the single aspect that makes a Uzumaki. You have our will, strength, talent for Fuinjutsu, our love of seals, and most of all the care for the respect of our ancestors who came before us to make it this way. Yukimaru, blood isn't the only thing that identifies family. By everyone here, you are Uzumaki," Guren said while Yukimaru held down his head. He couldn't stop the small tears that fell down his face. "Arigato?" Yukimaru replied with a small smile, much to everyone's relief. "Though Yukimaru, if you are uncomfortable with this arrangement, then the Uzumaki and Hyuga will decide upon another arrangement being made. Just as we're looking out for your best interests, the Hyuga clan is going to look out for the best interests of Hanabi-san. We're not going to force you. This is entirely your decision," Risa said with a firm nod. Yukimaru gently nodded once again as he reined in his control over his emotions. Can I have till tomorrow to think it over? Yukimaru asked, and he noticed the others bow. Of course you dat Bane. Take as much time as you need, Kushina said, as they once again watched Yukimaru nod in agreement before he stood up and left the room, closing the sliding door behind him. It was then that everyone sighed. Well, that happened, Yuri said, circling her finger around on the floor. Yeah, the kids got it fucking tough. So we're really agreeing to this shit. We're gonna be buddy-buddy with them now. Tayuya asked, getting a glare from her mother for the obvious reason of her mouth.
Well, Onisama's friendship with Hiyashi-san seems to have an impact on the entire Hyuga clan as well. Plus the fact that most of the blessings that came to Hiyashi-san and the Hyuga clan happened after he had started supporting Onisama were a plus. Though we should suppose that Onisama also thinks highly of Hiyashi-san because of a current relationship right now, Yura remarked, smiling as Kushina scratched her cheek. Naruto grinned just as widely.
Yeah, I respect the guy a lot. I used to think he was a jerk for Hinata and Neji, but I was wrong about him. At least I believe he really cares about his clan like we do. Plus, Yura-chan, you might now think much of it, but he also helped me with thinking about you and Yuri-chan as well, Naruto said, getting a gleam from Yuri and a blush from Yura. Well, I think we should all have a rest and pick this up tomorrow. Let's all retire, Fuka said, standing to her feet. She then quickly disappeared into the compound, going back to her room. Pretty soon everyone else followed her as Risa turned out the lights to the living room. Uzeshioga Kore. Zabuza growled as he paced the floor of the compound. The water daimyo was coming in less than 2 days to have a meeting with this country's daimyo. Zabuza blinked for a moment. Was this a country? Well, he had to suppose so. It had civilians, it had an annual income, and it had a shinobi force of some kind. The fact that it was on the map as a location of interest was also a problem. The island was originally to be only a base for Hinokan to conduct their business, but due to Haku's allowing of civilians to come to the island for the fishing season, then buildings were being made. Now Izushio had markets, trading posts, clothing stores, and other things. Even now, more construction was going on. Add to the fact that people were filling out mission requests of those available in the Izushio compound. Kuso, they had let their guard down at the most crucial time. Karen, Komachi, Cheyenne, Itachi, Haku, Rin and Conan watched Zabuza pace the floor in his thoughts before Conan took a step forward. Would it really be bad if the water daimyo came over here merely to talk? She asked. She didn't know why she was even taking an interest in what was going on here, but she didn't have much else better to do other than have her thoughts occupied by Yahiko and Nagato. She would have liked for something else to think about. Everyone registered their supposed-to-be hostages question. Zabuza suddenly stopped walking and sighed. Well, generally this wouldn't be a problem. But I suppose that given that multiple people have tried to reach this island, but have been unsuccessful until now, has alarmed the water daimyo. This island during the Third Great Shinobi War was actually sought after when our clan had been decimated. Something about the way that the Uzumaki were able to hold out against 3 of the elemental nations on this land had piqued their curiosity, but once the Uzumaki were destroyed, they were unable to get to it. He's probably here to speak of a trade agreement or something. I only know because working under Orochimaru, I had to keep with details like that, Karen replied. Conan took a seat on a lone chair. So you do not have anyone representing the land of Eddies, is that right? Conan asked, making everyone nod. If we did, then this wouldn't be an issue. At best, the only people who could converse with someone on the status of a daimyo might be Komachi-san, Cheyenne-san, Conan-san, and perhaps Itachi-san. Karen spoke, making Zabuza place a finger to his chin. He could understand Cheyenne simply because the Uzumaki was a priestess from the land of demons. She had to have had arrangements with previous daimyo, nobles, and possible suitors. She would have the noble attitude to act right.
Believe me,
You mentioned myself. Why would you think so? Conan asked, forcing Karen to tilt her head to the side. Well, from what I know of Akatsuki from Orochimaru, then you guys are in fact a mercenary group. A very wanted, very dangerous mercenary group, but a mercenary group nonetheless. I believe you have to have had arrangements with daimyo, or at least one or two of the cage, people in powerful positions. Am I correct? Karen asked. Conan kept her face impassive, but inwardly she was slightly impressed. It was true that she did know how to talk to noble figures, from making payment arrangements of Akatsuki, having to do certain tasks in order to build up a financial base for the group's project. Usually this had also been with her being paired with Kakuzu. The deceased Akatsuki member had been the one to handle the financial things, but Conan had been the one in charge of negotiations. Kakuzu wasn't the best person to talk to, actually. Hi, you would be correct? Conan didn't see the need to truly lie about something like that, as it wasn't like she had told about Akatsuki's dealings just yet. But as she thought more and more, she was considering it. She really wished she could talk with Yahiko a little more, if only to get some of her thoughts together. And I would presume that you mentioned Komachi-san and Itachi-san because both are former Anbu, and would know how to handle a situation like this. Conan asked, prompting Karen to nod her head. Conan followed up with her own nod. She had thought as much. Well, I do know noble etiquette, but I do also know it can't be Itachi-san. And no offense to you, Itachi-san, but I don't think that a former criminal from Konoha will have the best environment around the officials, Cheyenne remarked. Itachi didn't say anything. He understood her logic and he agreed with it. Though part of that was also because he doubted he would have made a good daimyo anyway.
So we're really going to consider lying to the water daimyo? Haku asked while Zabuza snarled. It's not like we have that much of a choice in the matter right now. If he does figure out that there isn't a daimyo here, then he's well within his rights to take this island and add it to Mizu no Kuni's territory despite Konoha shinobi being here. This land, if I remember correctly, isn't in Konoha territorial charter. We're playing a risky game, Zabuza said, making the others agree with their heads. Everyone sighed.
How about Haku-san? She's not well known to anyone and she's not particularly from the Uzumaki clan. I could show Haku-san the appropriate etiquette and we could do with that, Cheyenne answered. Haku perked up and blinked. There was no way she herself could be a daimyo. That had to be out of the question. Well, daimyo are generally given their power at most of the age of 13. If they show considerable skill, Haku-san might be able to pull it off, Rin remarked. Well, not many people know Haku-san like they might know any of us, so that might work out. I can offer her some instruction before the meeting, but we'll have to fashion some clothes for her. I'm sure we can get some of the clothing stores to do that for us. Though I'm sure we'll have to take a few mission requests for them since they have been asking. Perhaps we should just establish a building where they can put in their requests, and we'll collect them where we need to, Rin said, making the others nod. Haku swallowed the lump in her throat as she watched everyone begin to walk off to their respective destinations. Only Zabuza had been left in the room. Zabuza-sama, I'm not sure about this, Haku said with a look that Zabuza experienced at many times. Shinobi weren't supposed to be those who expressed uncertainty, but the man could understand why she was most likely feeling this way. After all, they were basically telling her to fill a position that wasn't just for anyone else. We're going to need you to be sure, Haku. I know you'll be able to do what needs to be done. Do not worry. If worse comes to worse, then I will still be there, Zabuza reassured her. Haku looked at him for a second as he patted her shoulder. Haku sighed. She then slowly nodded her head. If this was for the best, then she would do what she could. In the end, that's all anyone can do. Hokage. Mansion, Morning Isle. Sinead grumbled as she took a sip of tea as she looked at the growing stack of papers. Over a while, she massaged her shoulder and leaned back into her chair. Sinead-sama, are you okay? Shizune asked, forcing Sinead to lean up, if only slightly. Just making these finals adjustments to the Chunin exam that's going to take place in Suna. It's kept me awake a lot of days. I just finished filling out Uzumaki Fuka's registration form for temporary Genin, so that she can take the F-Injutsu Ascension exams under the guise of the Chunin exams. Tsunade remarked. Shizune merely nodded while Tsunade rubbed her temples. I'm guessing that there is more than just that, Shizune asked, making Tsunade frown. It's nothing that you have to worry about. I'm just tired is all. Though speaking of registration forms, I need you to head to Archive 45081 for a look into something that I had been putting off for a little while. Also, get me an updated map, Tsunade said, making Shizune merely nodded before making her way out. I might be late in doing so, Sanat-samad, but I promise to get you everything as soon as I can, Shizune answered as she closed the door before Tsunade could call her back. Once Shizune left, Tsunade looked down at the table. She moved a couple of files around before coming to the object of her desires. Tied to it had been a dark purple seal which only told Tsunade that this was the utmost confidential piece of information she could ever probably see. Tsunade pinched the bridge of her nose. Right now, she was sure that her sleepiness was affecting her mind. Taking up her cup of tea, Tsunade sipped it before grumbling. It had gotten cold. Tsunade hated things cold. Outside the Hawkage mansion, Shizune walked through the streets with a few folders in her hand. She really wished she could have done something for her master. Seeing Tsunade's face the way it was made, Shizune rather pale. It seemed that the role of the Hawkage was now starting to weigh down over Tsunade's shoulders. Shizune knew that was going to happen on some days, but Tsunade truly seemed more tired than usual. Despite all of this, she hadn't put herself to drinking. In fact, Shizune couldn't remember the last time a drop of alcohol made its way to Tsunade's lips. The last time she even remembered seeing a drink was probably the Makoto Uchiha incident. Granted, Shizune was happy for that, if only because it kept her master more rational in the mornings and nights, which kept her from falling asleep at work. But it seemed to just multiply her stress. Shizune exhaled a breath. Perhaps I should cover for Tsunade-sama a week or two, give her some time off. She was sure her master deserved it. Then there was Sakura. The young kunoichi had recently been spending a lot of time with councilwoman Koharu for the last few days. Now Shizune didn't specifically mind how Sakura sent her time, as she could spend it with whomever she wanted, but given the history of Tsunade against Koharu, then it was all just odd. Shizune-san, Ohio! Shizune snapped out her thoughts at the greeting to her name. Looking up, she took notice of Yuri grinning widely at her. Shizune blinked at her outburst, but she smiled. Ohio, Yuri-chan. What are you doing up so early? Shizune asked as Yuri rubbed the back of her head. The grin on the young Uzumaki female's face was a refreshing sight for the assistant to the Godame. It too much reminded her of Naruto's smile when he was around that age. Well, Ayura Wanikon's in the village working a C-rank mission at the academy with Aruka Oji. So I have to do some D-ranks for myself. I'm actually on one right now. I have to dust the shelves of some archives or whatever like that. Wani-chan said it was something about expanding my mission record. I don't understand it fully, but I guess I can't complain, Databayan. But I can't find it. What are you doing? Yuri asked. Shizune chuckled to herself. Nothing exciting, I'm afraid. I'm just grabbing some things from the archive room, but I'm stopping by some places before that. Let me see your mission scroll. Maybe I can find it for you, Shizune offered. Yuri looked at her for a second before she shrugged and offered the medic Nin the scroll. Shizune looked over the scroll for but a second before raising an eyebrow and handing it back to Yuri. The smile on her face only seemed to get bigger. Yuri-chan, would you like to help me around the village for a bit? Shizune asked, much to Yuri's confusion. She didn't know the premise behind this question, but whatever. She wasn't in any rush, so it wasn't like it mattered when she completed her mission or not. Sure. Where are we going? Yuri asked, but Shizune didn't tell her as they walked off. Yuri pouted at the silence. She didn't like being ignored. So time progressed for Shizune and Yuri, as the latter was dragged around by the former. Now Yuri didn't mind having a leisurely stroll around the village, but Shizune was taking her everywhere. Shizune had taken Yuri to the tea department to drop off some documents for Biki and Anko, the latter of which constantly talked about Yuri's sudden clan status and things like that before they left. Shizune then proceeded to take her to meet with Genma and Reito over some other things such as the bodyguards for the Goddam during her stay in Suna. It had all been a lot of political stuff that Yuri just didn't get. After that, Shizune then met with a few local market elders about things happening in the village, and a lot of economical stuff that she didn't get either. About 2 more hours passed by as Shizune took Yuri to a place that she didn't even know existed to meet with the leader of Konoha's cryptanalysis department team. The man's name was Mitaku, and Shizune spoke with him about some messages needing to be decoded by Tsunade, which only served to make the man sigh before nodding. Yuri remembered making the comment that he seemed like a Nara with his grumbling, which only served to have her sweat drop when he agreed with her. In fact, the only thing she remembered being irritated about was when he said that he didn't want to be lectured by a brat. This comment only served to irritate Yuri as she fought against Shizune's grasp to kill the man in front of her before the assistant to the hawkage dragged her out of the office, kicking and screaming. By the time Shizune actually brought her to her destination, it was sometime late in the afternoon. Yuri huffed as she dropped to her knees. She had never even known Konoha could be this big. She thought she had been walking for hours. Where are we now? Yuri whined as the hot sun continued to beat down on her, forcing sweat to drop from her face. We're at my mission. The archives, which just so happen to be the archives that you need to get to for your D-rank mission. You'll be helping wipe the shelves of this department. If you want to know why I wanted to take you to all these places, then I wanted you to feel happy being outside because you're not going to be outside for a while, Shizune said, making Yuri grimace as Shizune opened the door. As soon as Shizune did, both were met with a male who stood at the door with his arms folded. Neither could really tell his expression since his eyes were covered by his glasses. It seems that you really do take after Uzumaki Naruto's nature for not being punctual, Yuri-san. You're late. Very late. Yuri blinked at the person for but a second before she gasped and pointed out her finger. Ah, you're the closet pervert that Nii-chan talks about on occasion, Yuri proclaimed, making the man scowl behind his glasses. Shizune blinked at the name Yuri had given him, or the name that she claimed Naruto had given him. I am not a pervert. I am a Takubetsu Jonin, and you would do well to show me some respect, he growled out while Yuri snorted. Yeah, whatever you say, Iro Ojizun. So, what am I doing? Yuri asked with her hands behind her head. The man was more than ready to do something he was about to regret before Shizune cleared her throat for his attention. Ibishu-san, forgive Yuri's lateness. It was my fault. I needed her around me for a while. Excuse it this once, Shizune pleaded. The man named Ibisu frowned for a second before looking between Shizune and Yuri. He then proceeded to sigh. Whatever. Come on, you disrespectful brat. You'll be cleaning all of these shelves and I will be inspecting your work when you're done? Ibisu said, tossing Yuri a dirty rag and some cleaning supplies before turning on his heel and walking off. Yuri and Shizune watched him go before the latter turned around. Yuri, why did you have to antagonize him like that? I swear you're more like Naruto-kun than I thought, Shizune said while Yuri offered a beaming smile. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, Databayan, Yuri said before she found her motion and left Shizune to her work as the Uzumaki began taking books from the shelves they laid upon. Yuri grimaced. Can I just cage bunch in this? Yuri asked, only to groan when Ibisu just glared at her from where he was working. Yuri lowered her head and began washing the shelves. Baka Ero Ojizun. Uzumaki. Compound Rao. Out in the fields near the Uzumaki compound, Naruto sat in the midst of the trees. The sun in the sky warmed his face as he laid in his meditative pose. And described the feeling that you had at the time, came the cold, hard voice of his summon that he had remembered all his life. In front of him, Naruto bore his eyes at the purest essence of death. Shin floated before him, his steely eyes glaring over the blonde's form. Honestly, Naruto felt, if he hadn't known this gaze for quite some time, then it would have terrified him as it did, back when he first met the shinigami. Naruto then registered the shinigami's request. I felt scared, not for myself, but rather for Shion-chan. I also felt like I was suffocating. It was like something was taking over my body that I hadn't known before. Didn't know what to do. Because of my connection to Morio, I couldn't even use my Hanshao correctly, and that messed with me. But the last thing I remember was Shion calling my name before it all went black. Naruto told him. Shin looked at Naruto for a short moment. Interesting, Shin said in his thoughts. I see. Well, in any case, now that you have said the QB is now of white color, then that means that the process has been completed, he said, prompting Naruto to look up in a confused manner. Naruto eyed his summon for a while. Unknown to him, QB had also taken an interest in the discussion. He slowly opened on his eyes. Strangely, QB had found the extra space to be refreshing. It seemed that while he was stuck in the cage, he was limited off to a range much bigger than himself. He could actually run around if he so desired, or at least stand on his feet if he wished. The lack of a cage had actually done wonders for him, in all honesty. What process? Naruto asked. The Shinigami didn't answer him right away. He looked at the sky for a second before turning back to his summoner. Shikio, do you believe that chakra is life? The Shinigami asked. Naruto blinked at the question. He wasn't exactly sure what was meant by that, but he would offer his best answer. Well, yeah, I mean, nothing in this world can live without chakra, Naruto answered, and Shin nodded. Not that Naruto was correct, but that it was an answer that he didn't fault his summoner for thinking about. Does that include you? Shin asked, making Naruto pause. Now that was true. Naruto was alive without chakra, but wasn't that a different type of circumstance? Naruto didn't answer that question. He wasn't exactly sure how to. With time, seeing that his summoner wasn't going to answer him, Shin spoke. I will tell you something, Shikio. The chakra that all living things feel in their bodies that allows them to live originates from Hanshao. I have been around much longer than anyone on this plane of existence. However, where there is death, I am present. Where there is life, I am present. Do you understand? Death and life work together to keep the balance of existence. Shikio, not once have I regretted giving you this power. Now then, from what I have told you, what is the process of which I told you? The Shinigami asked him. Naruto's sweat dropped. He didn't know what the process was. How was he supposed to put that together? Taking a deep breath, Naruto steadied himself. Unknown to him, QB had been thinking about all of this as well. It wasn't out of the QB's knowledge that the gods were here before humans, but the Shinigami seemed to be the only one who always came to existences like this one. Looking over his new body, QB could feel a surge of life coursing through his body that his other half just couldn't offer him. It was like he wasn't merely the yang half anymore. He was something more. Still, not even QB understood. What process was this? Unfortunately, neither could figure it out as Shin closed his eyes. Once you understand this process and your desires, then I will grant you your summons back, Shin told him, forcing Naruto to widen his eyes. Why was it that almost all of it came back to them? What was Naruto doing that he wasn't getting? It wasn't like learning a technique. Naruto had no teacher for this. He also didn't know what it was about him that he couldn't understand. Shin, I don't get it. What am I doing wrong? Naruto asked with a huff. The death god looked at him for a moment before closing his eyes once again. That is something you must learn for yourself, Shikio, and while you are learning it, I will warn you, remember your status. You are not only a will of the laws of death, but you are also a vessel for spirits. Do not let your emotions sway you to the point where you lose control of yourself, or you will be overtaken, Shin said before he began to fade out of Naruto's view, leaving the blonde in the fields. As Naruto sat there, he looked out into the trees. Sometimes he really hated his summon. On one hand, it was like he was trying to dare Naruto say, teach him something, and other times it was like he just wanted to irritate the blonde. Naruto didn't know which it was.
Believe me,
From the way he's talking, it definitely sounds like he's trying to teach you, brat. What the death god of all people could be teaching you, I don't know. In any case, you'll have to think about it later. You have a mission to get ready for. I would suggest you get off your ass and hurry up to it. QB spoke, breaking Naruto from his thoughts. The blonde thought over his tenant's answer before nodding. It was true that he had to get ready. As Naruto stood to his feet, his hand grazed over the steel of his sword. He shivered. This was not how he had imagined it would go. Naka Shrine. Makoto knelt down towards the 7th tatami mat near the far right in the main hall of the Naka Shrine. Sasuke and Yuna stood together behind her. As both watched the Uchiha matriarch move the mat, Yuna spoke. I don't understand. Why would we be going here? I mean, yes, I knew about the existence of this room, but my parents told me all it contained was an old-shaped stone tablet. Yuna said while Sasuke took a step forward. He didn't understand either. After all, he had only been down there once or twice, which had been during his grieving of his clan to the Uchiha massacre. When he had been down there, the only thing he had seen was the tablet as well. He couldn't understand it either. Fortunately for both, Makoto understood. Good. This wasn't a place to be shown to children your age at the time. This was where the clan met about its coup d'etat. I'm ashamed to say that I was most definitely a part of it, but said nothing, why I blame myself for the road Itachi took. Only now do I know that it was all a lie. The things Fugaku said, all of them were a lie. There was no true coup, only the feeling of one which everyone was willing to lay down their lives for orders. Even Itachi was a puppet. However, I myself have never seen what's on the tablet despite Fugaku showing me the hand signs to do so. I didn't truly think it was important, but the two of you must understand. I have to as well. Everything that I have done, I want to understand what it was all for, Makoto said, taking the mat from its covering. The three Uchiha bore their sight to the stairs that led downward into the earth below. Makoto, Sasuke, and Yuna walked down the stairs, their footsteps echoing through the chamber the further they went. Like anticipating their arrival towards the truth, the torches on the fall flew up with fire as they continued to go deeper and deeper. About 3 minutes passed as they reached the place of their desire. The three Uchiha stood before the stone tablet. The Uchiha clan symbol upon the walls that surrounded the tablet made Yuna shiver. This was like a dark secret to her clan that she was about to see. All her life, her parents played it off as nothing. Perhaps she understood now. She couldn't let it be known to her because she was loyal to Konoha. Perhaps her clan didn't trust her. Yuna frowned. Ironic, wasn't it? The person who wasn't trusted to be down here was about to unravel one of the biggest secrets to the clan founding. It's smaller than I figured it would be. Yuna spoke, easing the tension somewhat. Sasuke snorted. I have to agree. I don't see anything important here, Sasuke said with a frown, which Makoto nodded as well. That's because it's supposed to be that way. I don't know how exactly, but the words upon this tablet can only be read with specific jujutsu. It would require the Sharingan to analyze it. We'll each take a section of the tablet and read it as best we can. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with here, Makoto said. Sasuke took a step forward, as did Yuna. It was a tight space, but they managed to get comfortable enough to read. Quickly, Sasuke channeled chakra into his eyes, bringing his Sharingan into the light of the fire. For him and the group, about 10 minutes passed by for them. Yuna, Sasuke, and Makoto read their sections of the tablet as best they could, taking moments to relax their eyes before moving again. For Sasuke, he read the words as best he could, but unfortunately what he was reading was incomplete. It was like he was getting a jumbled-up version of whatever was on this tablet stone. Raising his hand, Sasuke grazed the side of the stone intently. In the back of his mind there was a little voice talking to him, too fast for him to completely understand. The words, they were talking to him, too fast. Too many things were flashing in front of him too fast. Sasuke closed his eyes suddenly and placed his hand over his eyes with a curse underneath his breath. Sasuke, what happened? Yuna asked. Makoto turned to see her son covering his eyes with his right hand. Sheesh. I couldn't read much before something started shouting at me. I couldn't read much, but what I did read was about a woman named Kaguya Atsutsu. I got her name, but not much else, Sasuke replied, shaking his head to adjust himself. At these words, Yuna and Makoto looked at each other. I couldn't decipher much either with my Sharingan. I managed to get something about some tree known as the Shinju, but not much else. I couldn't decipher much of the monument either, Yuna remarked. Makoto stood to her feet and nodded. It seems that while the Sharingan is capable of deciphering some of it, it isn't able to do all of it. I also didn't get much as well. I could read some things pertaining to Uchiha Madara, but nothing of value at the moment. Perhaps it requires a better, more powerful dojutsu. Yuna-chan, please try it with your Mangenkyo. It's more advanced than a normal Sharingan, Makoto said. Yuna shook her head into a nod and sat forward. Sasuke and his mother stepped as Yuna activated her Sharingan once again. Her eyes strained over the words as the tomo of her Sharingan spun to form the Mangekyou Sharingan. Yuna slowly panted. Truly, this thing took too much chakra to maintain for long periods of time. Yuna looked over the series of words on the tablet. It's no good. I'm not getting anything diff. Wait a minute, Yuna said, narrowing her eyes over a particular space. Sasuke and Makoto twitched slightly in anticipation until they heard Yuna speak. And when this power is activated, the bearer will be able to challenge the gods themselves with the powers of the Kyuubi no Yoko, just as Hagoromo and Hamura had done. To the view, Yuna closed her eyes and Sasuke quickly rested her against his shoulder. Yuna took a deep gulp from her throat. Sorry, I couldn't focus anymore. It's all just as jumbled after that line, Yuna panted out in short breaths. Sasuke slowly helped Yuna to her feet while Makoto took a step forward. Hagoromo and Hamura. I have never heard those names before. Still, this at least confirms for me. Uchiha Madara was truly capable of controlling the Kyuubi, and if he could do it then... Kakashi's teammate, Uchiha Obito, was capable of the same thing. Sasuke finished, making his mother nod in agreement. How are you feeling, Yuna? Makoto asked with a sudden smile. Yuna chuckled. Just winded, Makoto-sama. I'll be fine in a few minutes, Yuna remarked. Makoto looked back at the tablet and sighed. Sasuke, take Yuna back to the compound to rest. You rest as well. We'll be leaving tonight with Hokage-sama to the daimyo's party, Makoto said, making Sasuke snort. Wasn't this supposed to be at the end of the week? Sasuke asked, making Makoto roll her eyes. Kushina and I decided to use that week to become familiar with the territory around the daimyo's palace, for that time, since we aren't entirely sure of the layout. While we might have been invited to join the 12 Guardian Shinobi, we still never spent any significant time with the layout of the building. So we figured to do that now, rather than later. Actually, Yugao and Kakashi went ahead just a few hours ago, Makoto said, making Sasuke snort. He quickly turned back to Yuna. Rain check? Sasuke asked, while Yuna smirked. Fine, but you're in for it when you get back, Yuna said with a wide smirk on her face. At these words, Sasuke grunted. Ying? He remarked, much to Yuna's mild annoyance. You can take your in and stuff it, Yuna retorted, while Sasuke held her up and dragged her up the stairs, all while thinking of how hard one would have to fall down these steps to have a concussion. However, that thought didn't stay in his head for very long. As Makoto watched her son and potential daughter-in-law leave the room, she turned back to the stone monument and frowned. The Jubi, the progenitor of everything that exists today. The combination of all 9 Biju. Its power is likened to that of a god. It is like the shinigami given the physical form of a beast. Naruto-kun, Makoto thought to herself before she turned around and left the room behind to follow her son out. With Kakashi and Yugao. Wow. Kakashi and Yugao rushed through the trees as fast as they could. Hopefully, they would make it to the town sheltering the daimyo's palace. Though you seem to think this is more than just a simple S-rank mission like previously stated. Why do you think so? Yugao asked next to Kakashi. The male Hinokan member frowned. It's all just too convenient. The daimyo hosting a party with the other daimyo despite having him and his family threatened by these letters. Plus the fact that search parties haven't found the bodies of the dead Anbu members. It only tells me that they were taken. Naturally, anyone who can take on the Anbu is bound to be experienced. In fact, we've been so busy with things concerning the Akatsuki that we've neglected other things. Not to mention we have an Akatsuki member at the island, but haven't done any sort of interrogation to her, Kakashi said with a sigh. You think we're doing something wrong? Yugao asked, brushing some of her hair out of her face as the wind passed over her. Kakashi then smiled behind his mask. It's not like we're doing anyone any harm. Plus, we don't know exactly how the other villages are going to react if they find a member of the Akatsuki in Konoha's walls. No doubt Tsunade-sama would give any information Konan-san gave her to Suna, as we're still allies, but we can't accept the risk of the other Akatsuki members catching wind of her capture by Konoha. That would be bringing them all to the village, and we should avoid that, Kakashi opted. Yugao swiftly nodded. She really didn't see a problem with that logic. But was it really good for us to leave here there with only Zabuza-san there? I suppose she won't be any trouble if Itachi-san is there as well. But forgive me for just feeling nervous. Yugao answered back, much to Kakashi's amusement. Well, she hasn't done anything for us to be wary about just yet. Besides, we have bigger issues. Did you see the recent newspapers? Kakashi asked. Yugao's eyes narrowed. Hi. It seems to be a rising issue just like all the rest. I hope it won't be made as big an issue as we think, but we can't ever be too careful. Should we stop here? Yugao asked. Kakashi dropped to the ground. Quickly, Kakashi instructed Yugao to survey the right side of the forest, while he surveyed the left. After some time, Kakashi felt secure enough to stop where they were at the moment. Neko, point clear, Kakashi asked. He waited for about 10 seconds, but Yugao failed to respond. Kakashi raised an eyebrow.
In this work, I've met a lot of guys who feel
Neko, Kakashi whispered harshly. Kakashi reached for his father's sword. Standard Anbu procedure was for the Anbu in question to release a flare of chakra to signal their teammates to their location. It was a mere safety protocol, as while it didn't, if ever, eliminate the threat of the danger, it was still a handy measure to have around. Right now, Kakashi knew that Yugao knew this protocol. So either she was distracted by something, or Kakashi didn't even want to finish that thought of his. Odd, I didn't sense any presence in the forest, much less a killer's intent. Why don't I even feel Yugao's chakra signature? Kakashi thought to himself. His gaze tightened over Yugao's section of the forest. Kakashi quickly hopped towards one of the trees and dashed over top the branches of each tree as he attempted to track his teammate. After some time, Kakashi dropped to a branch. Looks like I'm not getting anywhere with this. I guess I have no other choice, Kakashi said, taking his sword. He gently swiped it out over his thumb and sheathed it. He then proceeded to swipe through hand signs of his own before hitting the ground. Uchiozen no Jutsu, Kakashi called out, ushering in a small poof of smoke. Slowly, the smoke began to vanish. Wow, you haven't called me in a while, Kakashi. I was worried you had forgotten about me, came a rough, gruff voice that Kakashi remembered all too well. In response to the accusation, Kakashi just gave an eye smile and rubbed the back of his head. Gomen Pakun. I just don't think a situation has been as serious as this where I needed you. That might not be the situation this time, Kakashi said with a small frown. At his summoner's words, Pakun straightened up. Alright, so what is it? Pakun asked. Kakashi rummaged through the nape of his Hinokan scarf for a moment, before pulling out a lock of purple hair. Yugao is gone from this vicinity, and I can't find her. Here's some of her hair, Kakashi replied. Don't you dare ask him how he got that piece of hair either. Some things were better left not being told. So, Pakun lurched forward and took a whiff of the female Hinokan member's hair before Kakashi pocketed it away. Anything? Kakashi asked as Pakun sniffed the air. He then snarled and looked southwest from their location. She's precisely 2 kilometers from this location. Also, she's not alone. I can't judge the person, but they're strong. Dangerously so. How a person like this stayed under the radar for so long is odd to me, Pakun said while Kakashi frowned. Akatsuki? Kakashi asked, but to his surprise, Pakun shook his head. No, not them. If memory serves me then, it's someone who could possibly be on terms with them. The chakra I feel from them is strange. I've only felt this experience one time, and that was before we signed the contract with you. It's like death, Pakun said ominously. Kakashi perked up. What experience was this that Pakun was referring to? For as long as Kakashi had known the Nankin, he hadn't had very many life-death situations. But the anxiety that made its way to Pakun's face sent a shiver down Kakashi's spine. Take us there, Kakashi said. Pakun didn't say anything. He merely nodded and smirked. Be sure to keep up, he said as he dashed off with Kakashi right behind him to the place that Yuga was at. As Kakashi made his way through the trees, he could only feel a foreboding feeling. Something was wrong here. Why was it that Pakun could detect the scent of the person in question, but Kakashi couldn't feel a chakra signature? It made no sense. Only the most elite shinobi could erase their presence from others entirely. What Pakun meant by those words? Well, Kakashi knew he was going to find out. Silently, Kakashi and Pakun dropped to a branch that led out of the forest and into a small field of open grass. Kakashi widened his eyes because in that field of grass stood Yugao Uzuki, his teammate, entirely encased in glass. She was slashing at the glass repeatedly with her sword in vain of cutting the glass to pieces. Kakashi tightened his grip over his sword. He looked down a little further and noticed a figure in a red cloak clapping his hands at her efforts. Gone bear! Gone bear! Keep it up and your efforts might be rewarded. Tell me, do you have a husband, kids? They're going to be so sad that you died this way. The firm tone of the voice's pitch told him that the person was male, probably middle-aged at most. That's him, Kakashi, Pakun said. Kakashi didn't need to be told twice. Yeah, Pakun, you go back. This looks like it could get bad, Kakashi said. Pakun slowly nodded, and then poofed out wishing Kakashi his good luck. Kakashi didn't want to admit it, but he needed all of it at the moment. Kakashi reached into his Hinoken vest. Swiftly he flung 3 kunai at the mysterious figure. The kunai sailed through the air, but as Kakashi expected, they were quickly deflected by the figure who turned around and sent them flying into the sky. Yugao stopped swinging in surprise. More guests, eh? He asked. He looked through the trees for Kakashi before smirking. I really hate sneak attacks. An impressive time in getting here. I was hoping you would take longer, but you shinobi don't disappoint, he shouted. Kakashi felt a bead of sweat fall from his face. He didn't dare respond just yet. He had to get a handle on the situation. However, he then heard the figure chuckle. Come on, let's be sensible about this. We both don't want unnecessary blood on our hands, do we? Come out and let's talk, he said. He didn't receive a respond. Yugao blinked. She couldn't hear what the man was talking about, or if he was talking at all. He had a stage mask on, so she couldn't do anything. She theorized that her savior was more than likely Kakashi, which she was grateful for, but that still didn't change her predicament, only her chances of getting out of it. Now that Yugao thought about... Yugao panted heavily. Her lungs felt tight. I can't breathe! Yugao found this realization as she dropped to her knees. She cursed. How stupid could she have been? So much of her time had been spent in trying to break the barrier that she had nearly used up all her oxygen within the encased glass. Kakashi, hurry! Yugao thought as she dropped her sword and rested her hands on the glass. It was then that the man looked back to her form. His eyes somehow brightened, pleased with the turn of events. You wish to save the life of your comrade, do you not? No doubt she will die if you try me any longer. I can keep up this barrier for as long as I want. the man said. Kakashi looked from behind a piece of bark and cursed. The man was right. Yugao looked to be in bad shape. It only reminded him of losing oxygen while he was caught by Zabuza in his water prison. Kakashi knew he didn't have much time. Cursing, his mind was racing. Rescue Yugao. Secure the perimeter. Judge the hostiles' intentions. Eliminate said hostile. It was all coming to him too fast. Kakashi closed his visible eye. Kakashi dropped down to the ground in the open. Yugao had the strength to just barely smile. However, the man smiled as well, behind his mask. Yokoso konoha shinobi-san. Glad to see you took my offer so pleasantly, the man said with a delightful tone that just kept Kakashi on his guard. Well, it's not like you gave me much of a choice in the matter. Could I get you to release my teammate? Kakashi asked, getting straight to the point. The man looked back to see Yugao worse for wear. She seemed to be breathing heavily. He then quickly turned back to Kakashi and wagged his finger back and forth. Ah, there it is, Shinobi-san. The wants, desires, and rewards that one wants to gain for themselves from someone else. Even when the situation isn't in their control, humans will still demand things from those who hold all the cards in their hands. That is what makes human beings so wonderful. The audacity to challenge even God for his place? Let's not be concerned with your teammate for right now, Kakashi Hatake, the man said, his eyes practically gleaming when Kakashi didn't show any sign of shock. Of course, most were going to recognize him. He was in the bingo book after all as one of its most powerful shinobi to date, not to toot his own horn, obviously. However, back to this person in front of him. It was obvious to Kakashi that this man was philosophical in some ways, so he wasn't a random enemy, or not at least a dumb one. It was strange. Kakashi still couldn't sense him. He felt nothing from the man. It was like this man was a black abyss. He was filled with nothing. You seem to know me, but I have never met you before. What village are you from? Kakashi questioned. The man chuckled as he looked up at the sky. The 5 elemental nations, each with its own hidden village and its own daimyo. The lands are shaped by these powers constantly. The powers of the biased, the bigoted, the rich, and the strong are what rule this world. Isn't this so, Kakashi Hatake? He asked. Kakashi stiffened, but he didn't speak. He wasn't sure what he was supposed to say. You know what this world needs, Hatake-san. This world needs a revolution, a change, a metamorphosis, a rebellion, a revolt, a shakedown. For too long the weak have lived in fear of the strong. No one is equal in this world. Kakashi-san, do you truly desire peace? He asked in a suddenly serious tone. It was one that he wasn't going to let Kakashi get away with not answering. Kakashi tightened his grip on his sword. This didn't go unnoticed by the mysterious man. It was then that Kakashi noticed Yugao fall to the ground of the glass. He didn't have any time at all. I believe everyone desires a peace of some kind. Yes, the world isn't fair, but life isn't fair. If it was, then. Nonetheless, I can't let you hurt my teammate anymore, Kakashi said with a threatening tone. Truth be told, he actually had something he wanted to try out after seeing it a couple of times. However, what Kakashi wasn't expecting was hand claps. They rang through the forest, sending the birds scattering away. Excellent, excellent. Kakashi Hatake, as expected of a true shinobi, a true murderer, a true agent who bends to the will of the shinigami. No doubt you have been truly blessed by Naruto Uzumaki-sama's presence, the man said with a large laugh. Kakashi widened his visible eye before he suddenly vanished from the field. The man raised an eyebrow behind his mask as Kakashi came up behind him. His sword gleamed in the sunlight before he swung it. A clash rang through the forest as Kakashi frowned. His sword had bashed against another one, but the handle was odd. The way the man held it, it wasn't like Kakashi's, which was for slashing or cutting, but rather for piercing. Kakashi didn't know. Testy, the man said while Kakashi snarled. How do you know Naruto? Kakashi asked. Could it have perhaps been the blonde's Jinchuriki status, his heritage, his contract. No, that shouldn't have been possible. If it was, then the world would already be descending into madness over it. Kakashi pitted his strength against the mysterious assailants. Without a doubt, this man was strong. Unnaturally so. Ah, you seem to be very protective of Uzumaki-sama, that's good. I don't know Uzumaki-sama personally, but all we know is that he has been blessed. He is favored by the god of death. Witnesses, testimonies of his achievements have spread through the world. Or didn't you know that? Uzumaki-sama will lead the world into greatness with his favor of death. All that must be done is the preparations, he said, making Kakashi pour chakra into his sword. Quickly, his blade flew up in Raiten chakra. Slowly, it began to slice through the man's own blade, making him smirk. With a twist of his foot, he parried Kakashi's blade and backflipped away. You're the people targeting the daimyo, aren't you? Kakashi asked while the man chuckled. Impressive deductive skills as told in the books, Hatake-san. You can't stop what is destined to be. Also, keep Uzumaki-sama protected. We have a heavy use for him, and it will be done for the glory of the world and this revolution, he said. Kakashi was ready to charge again, but he heard a shattering behind him. He turned around and noticed the glass that had been around Yugao had broken into multiple pieces. Yugao's unconscious body laid in the grass. Kakashi quickly turned around and the man was gone. He and Yugao were the only ones left in the field. I still didn't sense him. Whoever these people are, they are not to be trifled with. I'll have to inform Kushina and the others as soon as I can, Kakashi thought to himself before he picked up Yugao. He then collected her sword and dashed back into the trees. Right now he had other things that required his attention. Konohagakure, Barrier Division. Guren growled as she slammed the desk just opposite a computer screen, which made her subordinates grimace slightly. And why weren't we alerted to this when it happened? Guren asked in a low, irritable tone. As a Uzumaki, she prided herself on her sealing techniques, and learning that not one, not two, but 5 people made it through her barriers pissed her off. Because Guren-san, the spike within the water sphere, was so fast that we didn't think anything of it until it was too late, came the voice of Izumo Kamizuki. Guren sent him a glare before she took in a breath and exhaled. Just great, Guren said, pushing herself off the desk table. Someone get me Hoheito. Guren commanded, which made a few jonin jump at her voice before one bowed and took off running upstairs to the lounge area. For Guren, this was troubling. The ceiling barrier that surrounded Konoha had been modified not only by her, but also with some small aid from Naruto and Kushina. For someone to not only break in like it was nothing, but also without a trace to their existence, was disgustingly disturbing. It was actually more eerie than anything else. Hoheto. Yuga-san, Guren Taichu. One of the jonin said with a salute before quickly moving away. Guren turned around to get a look at the Hyuga. One thing she noted was that he was a lot older than the rest of the members. His brown hair slipped into a top, not just like a certain few Naras she had seen. The only thing that gave him away was his pupilless white eyes. You called for me, Guren-san? Hoheto asked, making Guren lean up.
Yeah, I want the interception team on the move. You'll be leading them with me, Azumo, and Katetsu. We're going to investigate the source of this disturbance. Azuma will speak with Hokage-sama about this incident and will come back with us. Prepare to move out, Guren said. Everyone quickly saluted her before they walked off. Meanwhile, Guren looked back at the computer screen in the room she was in. Something still felt wrong.
Are they waiting to make their move? We haven't heard any unusual activity in the past 24 hours. Still, what could they want? Guren thought to herself. She quickly typed in a command to the keyboard, Kami. This thing was slow. However, she finally got what she wanted. Printing a piece of paper, Guren grabbed it and held it up. Chakra output? How is that possible? Every living thing has chakra in it. How did the sphere pick up an output of 0? The only exception would be Naruto and everyone else he's revived, since they are comprised of Honshao. But these people couldn't have Hanshao as well.
Believe me.
The only way even Naruto could have Hanshao was because Kushina became his vault, or whatever.
For those
No other human being can hold Hanshao within their body. What am I looking at here? Gurren thought to herself. However, she didn't get to pursue her thoughts anymore as her teammates came back to her. Kotetsu Hoheto, come here and tell me what you think of this, Gurren said, holding out the piece of paper. Hoheto and Kotetsu glanced to each other before they walked over. Hoheto took the paper and held it up. Seeing the data entry, he frowned. Peculiar comes to mind. Either we're dealing with people who have mastered their chakra to such an extent that they can be invisible to the barrier, or this is a Kekai Genkai of some sort. Both are rather incredulous in nature, but we can't take out these possibilities. It might even be to say that it could be both, Hoheto said, making Gurren growl to herself. If that's the case, then we have it hard with a Hyuga and a censor. Perhaps we should enlist the help of an Aburame or an Inuzuka. Kotetsu asked, much to Gurren's consideration. We'll see. But for right now, let's get out of here, Gurren said as she quickly walked out the door with Hoheto and Kotetsu right behind her. No doubt this was going to be a long day. With Fuka. Fuka hopped on top of the rooftops at the standard shinobi pace, making her way to the Hyuga compound. By her clan, she had been tasked with the scroll exchange between the Uzumaki and the Hyuga. The best thing about this exchange was that each clan could still see the scrolls that they traded, but the sign of respect to each other was what was apparent. However, Kushina had warned Fuka to check the scrolls carefully. For while Kushina had a feeling that Hayashi was working in benefit of both clans, the Hyuga elders might be another story. Fuka merely smiled. If they did such a thing well, then she would just... never mind. Fuka doubted she really wanted to kiss a old guy. The thought easily sent a shiver down her spine. With time, Fuka landed in front of the doors of the Hyuga compound. Fuka-san, we have been awaiting your arrival. Please wait a moment. Hazashi-sama will be right with you, one of the branch members said with a look that Fuka almost couldn't recognize. It was like the Hyuga's face was positively beaming in gratitude and happiness as she disappeared from behind the door. Fuka blinked. An odd reaction that was... Still, Fuka had to imagine that some of this was due to the Uzumaki clan taking the decision to get rid of the Hyuga clan, old tradition of their Juinjutsu. That was most likely it, and for those of the branch family this was finally a time to be seen as equal, and more than just mere servant. However, Fuka realized the downside to this, as did probably Hizashi and Hayashi. One does not just forget a slavery and subjugation easily or quickly. Fuka was sure there was going to be a few. Hostile resentment of former branch Hyugas on the soon-to-be former main branch. Still, by their oath, their engagement of Yukimaru and Hanabi, and their scroll exchange, Fuka was an honorary Hyuga, and all Hyuga were honorary Uzumaki. They were all family. After some more time passed, Fuka was welcomed into the compound courtesy of Hizashi. Greetings. Fuka-san, please, follow me, Hizashi said, walking through the house. Fuka followed behind him. I take it that you're enjoying your revival? Fuka asked, prompting Hizashi to give a small smirk as the two made their way through the compound. He gave her a passing glance. Watching my son become a great shinobi, as well as the changes coming about with the Hyuga clan, has done wonders for me, if you wish to know. I can't exactly say I appreciated lying to my village, but I do indeed understand the repercussions if I had not done so. After all, Naruto-sama is in essence the bridge between the living and the deceased. I can think of more than a few people who would want that power under their control. It's good that Tsunade-sama places a high regard of trust in him to not inform anyone else. I love Konoha, but even she can be corrupted in the opportunity of such a power if it became known. I suppose we all have something to learn about power and responsibilities. Hizashi remarked, much to Fuka's slight smile. Yeah, I suppose a lot of us do, Fuka responded as she and Hizashi disappeared behind a corner. Hizashi led Fuka away from the Hyuga compound and towards a back temple shrine. Absolutely no chances you guys take, do you? She asked. Hisashi didn't say anything. Of course, they were going to be this cautious. Inside of this shrine was the very embodiment of the Hyuga clan's structure and power base. No way would it be so easy to find. Please come with me. We deactivated the traps upon your arrival. It's as you say. We take no chances at all, Hisashi said, climbing the flight of stairs with Fuka. He then opened the door as both walked inside. Upon entering, Fuka already felt everything about this place. The immense chakra around it was breathtaking. Along the walls were images of warriors, more than likely Hyuga, sparring or fighting against their enemies or family members. The temple was completely barren except for 3 large statues, one to the left, another to the right, and the last in the middle. Each held a scroll in its hands over a burning fire. Quaint, Fuka said while Hisashi stood before the statues. He swiftly sped through some hand signs before he slammed the ground with his hands. Byakugan, Hisashi called out, activating his clan's dojutsu. Quickly looking over the interior of the statues, Hisashi proceeded to stand at the exact center of the statues. He held out his hands. Forgive the time waste, but this is crucial in our traditions long past, Hisashi said, making Fuka shake her head. It didn't matter to her. She had gone through a similar process, well, not exactly with statues, but way too many seals. Hake kahekisho. Shote. 8 trigrams vacuum wall palm. Palm bottom. Hisashi as he quickly spun on his heel and slammed his hands to one statue, then swerved and hit the next in the same way. Keeping with his center of gravity and spinning motion, and with a shout, slammed the center statue. Fuka could feel the immense chakra leave his body. Hisashi retracted his hands and held out his hands. Quickly, the 3 scrolls fell from the statue's palms and landed in his hands. Hisashi walked back to Fuka. These are the pride of the Hyuga clan. Within these is everything that summarizes what a Hyuga is. With the exchange of these scrolls, we welcome you into our family, Hisashi said, presenting the scrolls to Fuka. Meanwhile, Fuka reached into her own pouch and pulled out 5 scrolls, each tied with a red stripped seal to it. In these scrolls is the essence of the Uzumaki clan. Our pride and joy for seals is stored here. With the exchange of these scrolls, we welcome you into our family, Fuka said, placing the scrolls on the ground. Hisashi did the same, and each took the offered scrolls of the other before putting them away.
Well, now that that's done, I can get on with my other mission. Have a good day, Hisashi-san, Fuka said before she vanished in a poof of smoke, leaving Hisashi alone. The younger of the Hyuga brothers smirked. This might be very interesting after all, Hisashi figured before he made to put the scrolls in each statue's palms. This only left 2 more. Hisashi quickly placed those somewhere else. Somewhere private, eyes only reserved for the clan head and clan heir or heiress.
Konoha. Front wall. Naruto, Sasuke, Kushina, and Makoto stood over the front walls for Konohagakure. Night had settled into the sky with the moon in full bloom. As they did, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Come again, Naruto-kun? Makoto asked, while Naruto sighed. I can't use the Jikkyugami on a place that I haven't been to before. Why do you think I just didn't teleport us to the land of demons? I can only go to places I have been before. I thought you guys knew this. Naruto retorted with an exasperated sigh. Sasuke proceeded to shake his head.
Well, it doesn't matter. We'll just have to run there. It shouldn't take long, should it? A total of 2 to 3 days? Sasuke asked. Kushina quickly nodded. Yeah, that will have to be the case. Though considering the Jikkyugami and its uses, then I'd rather only have Sochi use it unless absolutely necessary for now. Besides, I think we've grown to accustomed to Sochi teleporting us everywhere. We could stand the exercise. It's too easy to become complacent with things like this. We'll be meeting up with Kakashi and Yugao in the coming days, so let's all assume our roles carefully, Kushina said, making the others nod. Kushina nodded in turn.
Alright then, Hinoken, let's move out, Databane, Kushina said as she jumped off the wall with Makoto right behind her. Naruto was ready to jump before he looked back at Konoha for a moment. He then proceeded to blink. What's the matter? Sasuke asked at his side with a small glance. Naruto frowned. What was wrong? What was this foreboding feeling? I don't know, but I feel like I'm sensing something. Something I've never felt before. I don't know how to describe the feeling. It's like it's nothing, and yet everything at the same time, if that makes sense. I feel pressure, Naruto remarked with a small glare. Sasuke turned back to Konoha. He didn't feel anything. In fact, he didn't know what Naruto was supposed to be sensing. Perhaps it had to do with his teammates' abilities with Hanshao, but Sasuke didn't quite know, to be honest. You worry too much, Dobe. I bet that power is leaving your thick skull, Sasuke said as he dropped from the wall. Up yours, teen. Naruto growled out in return before he took one more look at Konoha as a whole. He really hoped that Sasuke was right. With that, the blonde Jinchuriki hopped off the Konoha wall and followed after his team into the night. As he dashed through the trees, his mind slipped away for a moment. Kyuubi, did you feel that as well? Naruto asked, prompting the demon fox to pop open one of his eyes. Feel what? The nine-tailed demon asked with a somewhat tired yawn, showing that he had been sleeping. Naruto shook his head. Perhaps it really was nothing, and he was just troubled by Shin's words. He really hoped that was the case as he disappeared. Konoha. Archives. Yuri panted as she dropped the rag to the ground and fell to a chair. Can I please go home now? I've been here all day doing this boring-ass D-rank mission. I could have done this so much faster with the cage bunshin technique. Am I done? Yuri asked, causing Ebisu to roll his eyes and Shizune to giggle. Honestly, I would have figured that a clansman of the Uzumaki clan would have more pride in her ability to get her missions done. But I see that I was wrong. Ebisu returned to her, much to Yuri's snort. It's not like anyone else in my family likes D ranks anyway, Data Bayan. Yuri grumbled as she folded her arms and pouted. It was then that Shizune placed a hand on the young Uzumaki's shoulder. Alright Yuri, just help me with one more thing and then you can go home, Shizune said, which made Yuri grumble to herself. Oh sure, this torture would have been much better if she had teammates and a sensei, but good luck trying to get that so late in this profession. Yuri, in all essence, was her own team. Her sensei was her older clansman, and she had any other teammates. Plus, Yuri liked Shizune. The woman was good company, and Yuri didn't mind hanging around for just a little while if it was necessary. Yuri also knew that the woman was actually more busy than she sometimes appeared to be. Just a couple of hours ago, the brunette had been running from the archives into the Hawkage mansion, saying she had to drop off some documents to the Godane before returning to her post. Yuri had asked what the problem was, but Shizune had played it off. However, Yuri couldn't mistake the feeling of anxiety Shizune had on her face at that one point, but she chose to forget it. If it was important, then Shizune knew that she could tell Yuri about it. It was probably this that Yuri didn't mind going with Shizune. After all, her lover was gone, so she had a bit of time. Then she had her Jinchuriki training with the Sandai. Fine, Yuri said, standing to her feet. Shizune smiled with a nod and moved to collect her things. Impudent child. I will be going with you as well. To make sure this girl doesn't try anything like a certain relative of hers, Ebisu said, pushing up his glasses. Yuri gawked. We don't need your help. Closet. Iro Ojizen, Yuri protested back heatedly. Ebisu snarled. There was almost no doubt about it. Such rude behavior, disregard for superiors, and backtalk was only shared by two people. Now, this girl was a carbon copy of Uzumaki Naruto, Ebisu realized. Kami, Ebisu wished this day never came. Oh, don't get him wrong. He was happy that the blonde had found the family he had long since desired, but just the sheer audacity of this girl was overwhelming. For the last time, I am not a pervert, Ebisu exclaimed vehemently while Yuri covered her ears. Maybe he's a super pervert then. Nui-chan said that Iro Sennin did the same thing at one point. Yuri contemplated to herself before shrugging her shoulders as she watched Shizune walk out of the door. Yuri hopped off her chair and walked off as well.
Yeah, just hurry up Arrow Ojizan before we leave you behind, Yuri said, closing the door much to Ebisu's chagrin until he followed out as well. Slowly Ebisu clicked off the lights to the archives with a sigh.
So the group of 2 Jonin and 1 Genin left the archives behind and made their way through the village. So what do you need me for? Yuri asked, making Shizune smile. Nothing, really. I just haven't seen you in a while, so I want to talk with you for a bit. That's all, Shizune replied. Call it having a similar experience with having Naruto for a little brother figure, but that's how Shizune felt with Yuri. The little Uzumaki was like her little sister. Yuri didn't reply to Shizune's statement, but kept walking. So are you ready for the Chunin exams? Shizune asked, making Yuri shrug her shoulders. I guess. Fuka-san's going to take over some of ninjutsu training while Onuma-chan and Kushina-chan do their mission. I've also taken my training to the next step in terms of ninjutsu. I'm gonna ace that Chunin exam, Yuri said with a confident smirk. Shizune and Ebisu chuckled to themselves. Like a shrimp like you could do anything significant. I bet you lose the first round, Ebisu said, folding his arms. Yuri gawked. I'm gonna ace it, Datbayan. I'm gonna ace it better than anyone, especially your entire team, Yuri boasted. Ebisu's eyes gleamed behind his glasses. Ho, is that a fact? Would you care to make a little wager then? Ebisu asked, looking down at her. Yuri blinked. Yuri remembered playing a gambling game with her sister on one of their off days. Yuri had learned she may have had a minor gambling habit. Or maybe it was a minor betting habit. Was that the same thing? Yeah, more than likely. You're on. Name your price, Yuri demanded with a somewhat maniacal grin. Shizune only placed her hand over her face with a sigh. Was she really only capable of hanging around gamblers? Ebisu's grin only widened before he cleared his throat. He might as well not get too ahead of himself. Very well, if you can. Make it to the second stage with nothing. But ninjutsu, then I will acknowledge you as competent. Lastly, if you can beat 2 people in the exam, then I will give you a surprise, Ebisu responded. Yuri raised an eyebrow. It's not perverted, is it? Yuri asked. Not that she really cared if it was perverted or not. Yuri didn't mind thinking she was the same, but this guy didn't need to know that. Actually, no one needed to know that, except those who already knew it. Oh man, if anyone knew the things she dreamt up doing with her Onuma-chan, they would easily mistake her for a student of Jiraiya. Also, no one needed to know about her collection either. No, it's not perverted, you idiot, Ebisu quickly corrected while Yuri smiled. Alright, and what do you get if you win? Yuri asked. At these words, Yuri was sure that she saw a gleam in Ebisu's glasses for a brief moment. For one, you stop calling me that shameful, degenerate name. And second, you become a part of my team, Ebisu remarked with another grin which made Yuri shiver. Shizune raised an eyebrow. What an odd demand that was, especially considering that Ebisu already had a 3-genin squad. It wasn't like they could just suddenly put Yuri on, even if she was the only Konoha genin without a team. You're on, Yuri declared as she held out her hand. Ebisu held out his hand and shook it. Don't go running away when you lose, Datbayan, Yuri said with a small smirk. Ebisu matched her smirk. The same could be said for you, Uzumaki Yuri-san, Ebisu replied. The two nodded and sealed the deal while Shizune pinched the bridge of her nose with a long, drawn-out sigh. What was this world coming to where adults had to bet with kids? Shizune didn't know, and she doubted she was going to know too. Now if you two are done, then we can move on, Shizune said, walking a little faster. Yuri and Ebisu moved to catch up with her. As they did, Yuri cursed as a sharp wind blew through the village. Cold night. As the trio walked off, none of them noticed the pair of eyes on them. The largest grin appeared along with the pairs of eyes before they vanished into the night. After a final long walk, the trio stopped on the outskirts of the village in an open area. At this area, Yuri found the area to be littered with flowers of all types. In the moonlight, they glowed a mysterious color, but they look absolutely captivating. Wow, what is this place? Yuri asked while Shizune knelt down. Ebisu seemed slightly impressed by the sight as well. This is a personal garden space for medicinal flowers that the medic Nin made some time ago. I go here to restock on some supplies that we break down into components for medicines. I just wanted some help is all, Shizune said, picking at the flowers. Yuri looked over the field of flowers before sighing. Perhaps she should just go along with it. Getting down to her knees, Yuri began to pick at the luminous flowers, one after the other. Ebisu also helped in grabbing a few stems and taking the flowers from the spot they laid in. Yuri didn't want to admit it, but this was relaxing, if not a little dull. About half an hour passed by for the trio as they picked at flowers in the fields. Yuri was ready to reach another one before a voice boomed in her head, one that she actually hadn't heard for a while. "You three aren't alone," came the voice of the Sanbi. Yuri perked up at hearing her tenant. "Sanbi?" Yuri asked. Behind his cage, Sanbi could see what Yuri was seeing. His eyes glared forward. How had he not been able to sense this presence until just now? It was like this presence was nothing. It was a big, wide ball of emptiness and voidness. Sanbi lowly snarled. His jailer was a Uzumaki. She should have sensed this coming for miles, but she didn't. Not hearing a response, Yuri looked up and around the field. She couldn't find or sense anything. No chakra for her to detect, and while Yuri admitted that she wasn't the best sensor in the world, she still was rather adept at it. Or she would have liked to believe. But Yuri didn't see anyone. She looked in front of her, behind her, above her, and to the sides of her. She saw nothing. Was the Sanbi playing a prank on her? Yuri doubted it. So why did the Sanbi sound so shaken when he spoke to her? Generally, it was utterly impossible for a shinobi, or even a civilian, to utterly disguise their chakra. It was what make up their exact living. Who could live without it? "They are beautiful, aren't they?" someone said from the sides where the trees had been. Yuri's senses perked up as she quickly turned to the right in shock as a figure came from the forest. By the smoothness of the voice, Yuri surmised that it was a female who had spoken, but the way the mask hugged her face was odd. Yuri could say that she had seen many plays or things like that, but it looked like one of those festival masquerade masks that she had seen during one festival that she went to thanks to her sister before meeting Naruto. Shizune-san, Iro Oji-san, is this place off limits to civilians and other shinobi? Yuri asked slowly. Shizune and Ebisu didn't move from their work, but Shizune answered. She chuckled when she saw the small glare on Ebisu's face. Well, Yuri, it's not exactly off limits, but it isn't a free accessibility either. If you wish to enter, then you need some standard paperwork as well as a small fee, if you're a civilian, since some shops sell medicinal products and things of that nature. The same applies to shinobi who wish to enter. Why do you ask? Shizune asked curiously. It was indeed a random question, Shizune figured. However, her body shook almost violently upon Yuri's next words. Does that classify as civilian or shinobi? Yuri asked, pointing forward. Shizune and Ebisu were sure they could have caught whiplashes from how fast they turned their heads as they noticed the mysterious figure standing just at the edge of the fields with them, waving at them pleasantly. That definitely didn't qualify. The female figure walked closer into the field. Shizune and Ebisu stood to their feet, their stances tense. I can't feel her presence. I can't feel her. Anything. It's like she's dead, Shizune thought to herself as the woman suddenly stood still. She looked down at the flowers. Such beauty abounds itself in the darkness of the moon. Isn't it fascinating? Hands meant to only bring death and destruction were crafted in such a way by the gods themselves can be used to bring and cultivate beauty. Such an exquisite thing, isn't it? She asked, fingering the petals of one of the flowers. Who are you? State your business here, Ebisu commanded. He slightly adjusted his posture so that his hand was close to his shinobi pouch upon uttering his statement. Yuri took an unconscious step backward while Shizune's frown deepened. The woman slowly knelt down to one of the flowers and plucked it from the ground. Why do the nations exist? Why are wars constantly fought? Look at the beauty such as this flower. Don't you think human life is beautiful? Yet we destroy it every day with no clear view of ever stopping. Humans are no better than the beasts that roam the other, devouring one another. I have to say that in essence, humanity loves to kill. Hide behind the reasons for it, we do. Justify it to the best of our ability, we do. We enjoy taking the life of someone else. We love to play God. We love to feel in control of another's life, and we love to hold ourselves to the pedestal of superiority. How hypocritical humanity is. Killing is wrong, but it never stops. I don't want to kill, but it's done more and more. Ah, how flawed humanity is. Like the rapid disease which plagues the ground, our flawed existence ruins the beauty of everything. There is only one place where all understand each other. The realm, the shinigami. The realm of the dead, she said with a small smile. Abisu, Shizune, and Yuri tensed. This woman, right in front of them, was blank. Even this close, Yuri couldn't feel this woman's chakra. She wasn't even giving off any sort of intent. She was just there. Even when Naruto was around, Yuri could sense him. Well, sort of. For normal people, Naruto would have been fuzzy at best. He gave off such a large presence and regular intent that some could find him. That wasn't the case with her. Now Yuri doubted this woman even knew what Hanshao was, much less have it. But then Yuri wasn't sure how she could explain anything else. Either you answer the question or I will be forced to apprehend you. I ask again, who are you? Abisu asked with a hard glare. Shizune grabbed Yuri and pulled her back. Yuri, I want you to run. Go and get the nearest jonin that you can find. I don't know how to explain it, but this woman is not normal, Shizune cautioned. Yuri quickly turned back to her. No, I can't leave you guys by yourselves, Yuri argued until Shizune pushed her back. We'll be in a bigger threat if we can't find a way to get some backup here. You have to go, Shizune remarked hastily. Yuri turned back to the woman who only offered a small smile at their direction behind her mask. She dropped the flower back to the ground. Yes. What is the point in denying your human nature? If you wish to kill me, then take your kunai and thrust it through my body. For the meaning of life is only discovered in death, she said before Abisu snarled. In an instant he vanished from his place in the field and made his way across the fields in the moonlight. The woman merely stood still, however, behind their masquerade mask. Her eyes tightened. Abisu quickly leapt into the air and performed a downward slash with his kunai. He was aiming to end this quickly and without much hassle. Yuri and Shizune watched the blade come down further and further. Even Sambi had opened its eyes to the sight with some interest.
The sounds of the kunai hitting something very hard were heard through the air as Ebisu slid his kunai through her torso before he landed on the ground. No worries, he had aimed for a non-lethal spot. No doubt she would be unconscious from the blood loss, but it was worth it. How boring. I thought you were going to kill me. Ebisu's eyes widened behind his glasses. Shizune and Yuri gawked in surprise. Yuri stiffened in place. That wasn't right.
Ebisu turned back to see the masked woman look down at him somehow entertainingly and boringly at the same time. Ebisu could see the slash where his kunai had made contact with her clothing, yet her skin was woundless. Soon a sound assaulted Ebisu's ears. He turned back and gasped. The sound had come from the tip of his kunai, breaking and landing to the ground. Ebisu stiffened. How did my kunai break? Ebisu thought to himself. The mysteriously masked woman only folded her arms. Are you going to keep trying, Shinobi-san? I truly thought you were going to kill me, she said with a small shrug. The jonin cursed underneath his breath. Yuri, go. Shizune commanded over the Sanbei Jinchuriki. The young redhead, Uzumaki, took a small step back. She quickly sucked in her legs and was ready to jump away at a moment's notice. Yuri's legs just left the ground before she was pulled down. Shizune couldn't hide her surprise to see the woman who had been near Ebisu to be in their immediate vicinity. Humans kill when they're strong, flee when they're weak. Human beings truly are no better than beasts, she exclaimed before she swiftly kicked Yuri in the midsection. Yuri coughed violently from the sharp pain before she was sent sliding through the fields of flowers. Her body crashed into the field as she rolled against the flowers. "Yuri!" Shizune called before turning back to the woman just in time to avoid a sharp jab to the face. Shizune ducked underneath the punch. Quickly swiping her foot under the heel of the woman's leg, Shizune was surprised to see her easily jump over it. Shifting her momentum appropriately, Shizune kept her leg in full swing before using that motion to backflip away to gain some ground. "Strange. I still feel no chakra in her movements," Shizune said, as she did one final flip and landed. As she looked up, she was stunned to see her assailant gone.
"Shizune-san, look out!" Ebisu called out. Shizune turned around to stare into the eyes of her masked opponent. "Yes, why hold back? Let your nature spring forth as it was meant to," she told Shizune. She figured she had been ready for anything at that point, but that was a lie as her vision suddenly looked at the moon. The pain underneath her chin was unbearable. "Hokkaidan's breaking point," she said while Shizune forcefully opened one of her eyes. Again the woman was gone from the fields. How was this possible? Why couldn't Shizune sense her? A sharp grunt of pain left Shizune's mouth. Ebisu watched in surprise as the woman's foot planted itself in Shizune's backside before sending her spiraling into the ground with a loud crash. Shizune rolled against the ground while Ebisu snapped himself out of his gaze. He swiftly moved through his hand signs.
"Katen. Gokakyu no Jutsu!" Ebisu shouted, releasing a rushing fire through the field of flowers and towards the mysterious assailant. The masked woman watched the incoming fireball rolling towards her before she let out a small chuckle. The flames overtook her form, encasing her body in a shroud of hot fire, while Ebisu quickly took a breath. He couldn't sense the woman. More than likely she had died from the jutsu. Ebisu would have liked to have apprehended her, but this was fine as well. "Shizune-san, are you okay?" Ebisu asked, making Shizune wince. "Yeah. Not much damage, though her strength is indeed formidable. We'll have to report this to Tsunade-sama. Also, we should get Yuri as well. She might be hurt," Shizune mentioned. Ebisu quickly nodded. Yes, that was true. They would check on Yuri in a moment. Ebisu held out his hand. It was a short fight, but a short one nonetheless. Shizune offered a small smile before looking up and taking the offered hand. As she looked up, Shizune contemplated many things. Had been around all three of the Sannin, she had fought along powerful shinobi, and she had seen many things, horrible things. Yet, her soul quivered from the sight in front of her.
To the side, Yuri groaned as she picked herself up and off the ground. Even now the ringing in her ears wasn't stopping. Cammy, Yuri didn't remember ever being kicked so hard. Upon pushing herself up, a loud squelching sound permeated the drums of her ears. She looked forward and she was instantly stunned into silence. Her expression, horror-struck. Behind Ebisu stood the mysterious woman. Ebisu's eyes looked surprised as well. Through his stomach laid a mysteriously long blade. His blood trickled down the long steel of the sword. Shizune seemed stunned as well. More like, somewhat terrorized. "Arrow Oji-san," Yuri muttered. She watched the woman slowly pull her sword from his body. Yuri watched Ebisu fall to one knee. Blood escaped from his mouth.
Your blood. It's red. Strange that people can actually tell noble blood from peasant blood. Even more strange is that such human classes of society even exist. I'm pretty sure that if I lop your head of versus the head of the god Aim Hokage, then I would get the same effect. You're both dead. It's funny, I imagine, she said tauntingly. Ebisu snarled at his clutched his wound. His breathing was heavy and labored. He'd just been poisoned. Ebisu lurched forward into Shizune's arms. Ebisu-san! Ebisu-san! Shizune said before turning back to the woman. The woman had her sword raised into the air. Life is beautiful, but death is exhilarating, she said with a passionate sigh. Shizune looked over the long metal held by the handle of the blade. It was going to come down on her. The woman swiftly swung the sword down. Stop! Came a shout as Yuri suddenly appeared between Shizune and the woman with a kunai drawn. The woman raised an eyebrow in curiosity of the scene, before she took a look into Yuri's eyes. They were red, and the pupils were slitted. Ah, so that's what it was. Intriguing. Sparks flew off the kunai and the sword as Yuri growled towards the assailant. Yuri, Shizune said in surprise as she watched the young Uzumaki block the blade. The chakra was so familiar, and the red in her eyes was obvious. Shizune recognized this feeling before, but she couldn't entirely focus on it. Yuri quickly pushed up her body and, with her momentum, jutted the woman's sword into the air before swirling her body. With a sharp shout, her foot blasted into the woman's body, sending her flying across the field. Yuri gave a small pant. Yuri slowly panned back to Shizune. Will he be all right? Yuri asked. Shizune snapped out of her gaze and looked back to Abisu. I have to get him out of here, Shizune said while Yuri nodded. Taking a look back, she noted that the spot the woman was supposed to be at was vacant. Left! Sambi shouted, as Yuri quickly turned her head left. Her foot danced out of the way, allowing her face to dodge the sword strike that was aimed for her face, and would have killed her had she not reacted to her Bijuu's voice. Shizune gasped and pulled Abisu away. While Yuri backflipped away, the masked woman smirked. You dodged. Not bad, little girl, she said. Yuri quickly landed on the ground before she sucked in her legs and dashed for the assailant's position. The sounds of metal clashing rang through the air as Yuri parried the woman's full-body shot. She ducked underneath the length of the blade and sent a kick to the enemy's lower body. The woman effortlessly hopped over it before grabbing Yuri's leg. Yuri unleashed a short scream before she was swung through the air. Her body landed and rolled hard against the ground. As the woman advanced on her, Yuri smirked. The woman took pause and raised an eyebrow. Yuri held up a hand sign. Finjutsu. Shinin Shimeru. Sealing Jutsu. Abyss Binding. Yuri said as she bit her thumb and slammed the ground. Shizune quickly jumped away with Abisu while the woman blinked. Looking down, she noticed the seal formula on the tip of her handle. Clever girl. Instantly, 5 stone pillars erupted from the ground, restricting her movement. The woman looked all around her before the pillars ignited in lighting. With wide eyes, she covered her body before the lightning expelled from the pillars and coursed through her body. Yuri gave a small smirk while Shizune took a small breath. She quickly moved to start healing Abisu to the best of her ability. Yuri-chan, hang in there, Shizune said before turning back to the Jonin in front of her. Yuri watched her seals do their job with the smallest smile on her face. However, that smile didn't last long as she noticed the woman inside the pillars look up at her. Her eyes seemed to be glowing with amusement. Why is she happy? She should be in pain, Yuri exclaimed mentally. However, she watched the pillars slowly begin to crack. Slowly, the cracks got bigger and bigger before Yuri slapped her palms together. She struggled to keep them together while the woman spoke. A very interesting tactic, but an unsuccessful one, she claimed, and with a swing of her blade, the pillars shattered into pieces before Yuri's eyes. Yuri sucked her teeth. Swiftly, she sped through some hand signs. Suten. Uzumai no Jutsu. Water release. Swirl dance technique, Yuri said before she filled her mouth with water. With a forceful expunge, she sent the water flying in the direction of the clothed and masked woman. Slowly, the water began to increase in velocity and pressure. The woman watched the incoming jutsu upon her person. As the water was just meters away from her, the woman raised her sword into the air. Yes, all nature resists change at first, but it is all merely the evolutionary process. Nothing a person does is by their own will. It is all merely nature moving forward. You can't stop what will happen, she said as she brought down her sword. Yuri's eyes enlarged upon seeing a white arch of whatever she was looking at pierce through her water before it slammed into her body. Yuri coughed as she was knocked off her feet. However, the woman wasn't prepared for Yuri to suddenly vanish in a puff of smoke. She smiled. Simple tricks. The woman turned around to see Yuri lunging for her. Yuri quickly sent a punch to her face, but she danced out of the way. She then escaped a sweep kick that Yuri attempted. Yuri huffed and huffed as she released her assault over the woman, but to no avail. With a final punch that she extended, the woman caught it and held the Sambi Jinchuriki close. Why resist what will eventually happen? Nothing in this world is worth having. Unless you haven't known the pleasures of the flesh, have you? The woman asked, much to Yuri's embarrassment. What the hell are you talking about, Dadabayan? Yuri said before the woman flung the Jinchuriki over her shoulder and into the ground and dirt. Love is irrational as is life. The saying, there is someone out there for everyone, is merely a hope that those who feel alone cling in a cold reality. It only makes the reality that much harsher when they realize that there is no one for no one. The woman said, much to Yuri's cursing. You're wrong. There is someone for me. There are places I can return to. I have a family, Yuri remarked. The woman closed her eyes. What is a family? Is it the people you feel close to you? Is it the blood, DNA, and traits shared between you and those who might look like you? The world is a family that loves to kill itself. There is nothing except the boundless abyss known as company incidents, the woman claimed. Yuri tightly shut her eyes. Her hands clawed at the ground. Tell me, the person you love. You know he will die at some point. Everyone is the same, merely looking out for their own self-interests. Let me guess, you will merely have his children. They will remind you of him every day and keep you from being alone. Yes, that's a good point, but it won't matter. You will die and so will they. Every line of family will keep dying until the end of days. And you know, the circumstances only make it more exquisite and beautiful, the woman proclaimed before she noted the silence. She looked over and noticed Yuri still had her eyes closed. Yes, that is also human nature. To shut our eyes from the reality only to open them and see just how unforgiving it can be. But you know, the more we shut out eyes, the more pain inflicted on us that we try to ignore, the woman said, and upon her words she firmly planted her foot into Yuri's stomach, sending the girl flying through the flower fields. The young Uzumaki bashed into the ground, but she didn't offer word of rebuff. She was still. Yuri couldn't deny the woman's words no matter how much she wanted to. If she did have a family, then, yes, they would die. Her cousin lover was a summoner of the death god. She realized death was a part of human life. Did she like it? No. Did she wish it? Sometimes, however, Yuri. This woman's ideology, she also couldn't stand. When someone went against what she could ever swear to protect. She just wanted her family to be happy. She just wanted...
Meanwhile, the woman turned back over to Shizune, who had just watched the scene in discomfort. What do you want? Why are you doing this? Shizune asked. The woman turned back to her and smiled. Why does a mother bird push its baby out of its nest? Because if it doesn't, the baby will become too dependent on the mother and won't learn to fly. We are the mother and the world is our child. The world has become too dependent on us and will learn to either fly or die, the woman replied. Shizune watched her form get closer and closer. She still hadn't finished working on Ebisu. Even now he was running a heavy fever. Shizune sighed. She knew she would regret this. Quickly taking Ebisu into her arms, Shizune jumped back and took a breath of air. Swiftly she fired a Senbon needle from her mouth. The Senbon went flying through the air before it brushed the side of the woman's mask. Her expression didn't change. However, her hand over her blade tightened. Resistance to the end. Even beasts know when to submit to the stronger being, she replied as she took a step forward. However, as she took that step, but the woman and Shizune felt an immense amount of pressure over the field. The air was suddenly saturated in chakra. The deep, dark malice exploded itself. Both heard a small growl. The woman and Shizune looked back. The woman raised an eyebrow while Shizune widened her eyes. That's why the chakra felt so familiar. That's why it was so powerful. It was merely from this. It was all from Yuri. No, it was all from Abiju. So the girl still doesn't know her place, does she? The masked woman asked as she fully turned around. Behind her stood Yuri, glowing and bubbling, reddening chakra. The chakra surrounded her body like a coat or a cloak. Her hair waved through the air while the grass beneath her feet burned away. Stay away from them, Yuri snarled. Her suddenly sharp canines showcased themselves menacingly. Slowly, one tail came from the back of her body. After that came the second tail. In time, two tails formed completely.
Shizune's mind was racing. She didn't even have the time to process Yuri's transformation or the explanations why, but she did know that this was good. This much saturated chakra would no doubt send people over here to investigate. Perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. Shizune would get answers later, but right now, she had something else to do. However, she couldn't help but flinch upon the quaking of Yuri's footsteps in the field. Yuri, hang in there, Shizune thought to herself before moving back to what she was doing. Why resist? The world can't be the protective egg it wishes to be anymore. It must be born. It must be revolutionized. It must grow up, the masked woman said before Yuri snarled. She didn't say a word. She just sucked in her legs and vanished from the fields. The woman had just enough time to be surprised, but nowhere near enough time to react as Yuri slammed her fist to the side of the woman's mask. With a beast-like roar, Yuri focused her chakra into her fist before sending the woman flying. The power, the energy, the strength, the difference in power. It all felt good, Yuri growled before she jumped off after the woman. The woman quickly backflipped to the ground and landed. She touched her mask. There was a crack, it seemed, an impressive punch that was. As the woman looked up, she noticed Yuri in front of her. Not bad speed also. Yuri's fist was already dropped back for another explosively powerful punch. The woman couldn't allow that. As Yuri's fist extended, the woman moved to the side and parried Yuri's fist with her sword. Yuri swiftly spun her body and kicked out her foot towards the woman's chest. The woman crossed her arms and took the kick, which sent her flying a couple of feet. Yuri snarled as she dropped down on all fours. The masked woman was on guard instantly. Suddenly, a jet blast of water escaped from Yuri's mouth with violent force. The water increased in speed, pressure, and velocity as it neared the woman. Said woman was more than ready to try and divert the water before the water suddenly turned course. It went into the air. The woman watched it go before it splashed out into several raining water bullets. Each came down with terrifying force, forcing the woman to dodge them all to the best of her ability. You dare threaten my family and my friends. I'm gonna kill you, Yuri exclaimed loudly, releasing the pent-up chakra in her body. The woman in the opera mask chuckled. You are more than welcome to try, young one, the woman replied. With another thunderous shout, Yuri blazed across the fields for the woman's position, kicking up the dust of the ground as she did so. Swiftly, the woman turned around and dashed through the fields with Yuri behind her. Yuri opened her mouth and fired a rapid succession of water bullets at the woman's form, who dodged them all effortlessly. However, the trees and the fields weren't so lucky, as Yuri's bullets knocked over tree after tree, which only served to increase her anger further. Quickly, Yuri pulled her arm back. Stop running, Yuri shouted as she threw her arm forward, releasing a long red chakra arm from her bijou cloak that was sent firing at the woman. Fortunately, or unfortunately depending on who you're asking, the long chakra arms wrapped around the woman's form. With surprise evident in her eyes, the woman found herself pulled back by Yuri. Around and around, Yuri swirled the woman's form in circles which increased in speed. In one swift motion, Yuri then hoisted her into the air before the Jinchuriki slammed the woman brutally into the ground with a loud crash. The woman couldn't resist the urge to cough violently before she looked up to see Yuri in the air. Her two chakra arms extended. Between them came a large ball of pure, concentrated chakra. Yuri held it above and shouted, Odama Rasengan, big ball spiraling sphere. Yuri quickly bashed the large Rasengan into the ground, attempting to destroy anything and anyone caught in the middle of the blast radius. Far off, Shizune gasped at the explosive noises and the sudden rushes of wind as she continued healing Ibisu as best she could. Meanwhile, Yuri landed to the ground and released a growled sigh. However, her relaxation didn't last as she heard clapping. Have you opened your eyes yet, Uzumaki Yuri-san? How much hatred is needed in this world? How many have died due to the human nature of hatred in the past, And even now, in the present, the world needs to take care of itself. It needs to grow up. Those who don't believe in fate or prophecy are merely too conceited in thinking that everything little thing they do happens because they wish it to. This world is ignorant, the woman protested. Yuri lunged for the woman. Slowly the woman regained her composure and sighed. No use talking to a small beast about seeing the world when all it wanted was its habitat, right? The woman placed both her hands on her sword. Very well, she would indulge the beast a little bit. As she placed her hands on the blade, it suddenly glowed with an ominous presence and pressure. Yet Yuri was still coming at her full force merely because Yuri didn't know it. Rieton, Sinton. Spirit release, insane edge, the woman said as Yuri appeared in front of her. She swung her sword. As she did, an intense light came over Yuri and her chakra cloak. Yuri widened her eyes as the light took over her form. This was bad. This was very bad. Shizune surmised. And Basu wasn't getting any better. She had to get him out of here, but she couldn't leave Yuri alone. Who knows how long the girl would last against their opponent. I've got to hurry and aid Yuri as well as get help, Shizune said to herself. However, she gasped upon hearing a loud, thunderously heavy crash in the field just inches from her. Shizune gasped at the size of the small crater. There in the crater laid Yuri, battered and bruised, but her chakra cloak still intact. Yuri squirmed. Yuri-chan! Shizune exclaimed. Yuri murmured a grumble as she tried to pick herself up. As she was at her knees, there came the masked woman walking back into the field. That was level 1. Would you like to try for level 2? She asked. Yuri panted as she stood to her feet, her eyes and her will still burning for a fight that she believed she could win. She was a Uzumaki and a Kunoichi of Konoha. Most of all, she was a Jinchuriki. She had a responsibility to see to her Bijuu's safety and the use of his power. The woman was not amused at Yuri's endurance or her durability, but she had to respect it. Yuri shakingly stood to her feet. That one strike, it took her chakra and dispersed it from her body. She had virtually none left except for the Sanbis. She honestly felt like she could pass out, but she couldn't. Shizune still wasn't done with Iro Oji and she just couldn't stand this woman. She couldn't allow her to walk away. I will beat you, Yuri shouted as she charged at the woman in front of her. Shizune watched the woman place her hand at the hilt of her sword. Very well, young one. Level 2. It is. You wish to know the power that revolutionizes the world. I will show it to you, the masked woman said. Shizune widened her eyes. Something crept into her soul, her very being, angst, hurt, and concern. All these things became apparent to her. No, Yuri had to stop. She had to get away. Shizune still couldn't sense this woman's presence, but she could feel it in her gut. Yuri was going to die. Stop, Yuri, you had to stop or this woman would kill you. Yuri? Shan Shizune remarked while the woman closed her eyes. Yuri and Shizune watched as white shades of lighted power exploded from her body like clothing. Her hair flew upwards into the sky, pushing out the flowers in the field and the leaves in the trees. This was her power. This was a power to revolutionize the world. Yuri suddenly stopped. Pressure. There was so much pressure. She could see energy rolling off the woman in waves, but for all she saw, she still couldn't sense. What was this woman? It was like Yuri could feel her entire soul being sucked away into that hole. That was the woman's power. I won't kill you, but I won't spare you either, the woman tested. The Sanbi snarled. What was it looking at? Its host had shut down, and at the worst possible time. The insurmountable presence and pressure of the area around them was suffocating. The hard thing here was that it wasn't even as much as Yuri had chakra in her body, but it was like for all the chakra that Yuri possessed, whatever this was magic, perhaps 1.5 times stronger. There wasn't as much of it, but did that really matter? Yuri could only stand before the vastly flowing power. Her eyes couldn't betray what she was seeing. Her heart couldn't betray her sudden despair. Who was this woman? Slowly, the woman held her sword back behind herself and spoke. Rietan. Mugen Kageki. Spirit release, endless void. The woman said as she swung her sword, releasing all the pent-up energy she had accumulated at Yuri. In Yuri's vision, she could only see a large, overpowering white light. That light blasted from the masked woman's body, and over her form. Chan, Yuri silently said to herself. It proceeded to go into the trees, knocking them all over to the ground. Shizune covered her eyes and covered Ibisu's body with her own. Yuri. No, Shizune thought to herself. The light didn't last as long as Shizune might have figured it could have. But when she opened her eyes, she understood that she wished she hadn't. Upon opening her eyes, Shizune bore the sight of Yuri standing. However, she was entirely unconscious. The chakra cloak that surrounded her body was entirely gone. Her clothing had even been scorched lightly. The burn marks on the visible parts of her body were also apparent. Yuri had her head held up at the sky. Shizune saw the woman appear before Yuri. Perhaps you are a better beast than I surmised. To think you would still be standing after that, she said. Those words seemed to be like a trigger for both Shizune and the woman as Yuri lurched forward. Her head rested on the woman's shoulder for but a moment before momentum swung her body, and Shizune watched her hit the floor. Small trails of her blood stained the destroyed field of flowers. Shizune had her mouth open at the sight. Her body was trembling. This woman! The woman turned her head just in time to dodge a kunai that went sailing past her. She turned her head back to see Shizune with her hand extended. The angry look on the medic nin's face was easy to decipher. As the woman dodged the kunai, she took notice of the thin wire line. Her eyes widened as she suddenly found herself captured in an endless stream of shinobi wires from all sides of the trees. Each set of wires had its own set of shinobi explosion tags. The woman looked back at Shizune, who just finished her hand signs. Ninpo. Dokugiri, ninja art, poison mist. Shizune hollered as she molded her chakra before expunging it out in a thick mist of poisonous gas. Shizune picked up Yuri and backed away as she collected Ibisu also. The mist covered the entire field of former flowers before Shizune took out another kunai, one with one more explosion tag. Burn, Shizune said, throwing the kunai accurately through the poisonous mist. The kunai stuck the ceiling tags and a thunderous explosion rang through the forest as the poisonous mist exploded in fire and other explosive substances. Shizune clung to Ibisu and the unconscious Yuri as the explosion played. She gave a small huff, now that many explosions should have alerted people. Shizune closed her eyes and sighed.
The world is complicated, isn't it, Tsunade-sama? Shizune asked before a sharp blow came to her. Shizune fell forward over Yuri and Ebisu, unconscious. Behind her came the masked woman with a chuckle. In her hands was her shattered mask. I'll admit, that hurt quite a bit, she said as she coughed. Damn, looked like she inhaled a bit. She would need a vaccine fast. Oi, how long are you five going to be hiding? She asked, and without any more words, 5 figures dropped to the ground. Each with their own individual masks. Looks like you had fun. A little, too much fun. Konoha shinobi are en route here. ETA is 45 seconds. One of her partners said while the woman sheathed her sword. She gave a sigh before another of her partners gave her another mask. She quickly placed it on her head.
Then I would suggest that you pick these 3 up and we be on our way. We have what we came for, she replied. Quickly, a large man knelt down and picked up the 3 bodies and huffed them over his shoulders. Also be sure to give the one with the glasses the vaccine. We can't afford any more blood at the moment, she said, and the big man nodded. Without any more words being spoken, the 6 figures faded out of existence. Once the Konoha shinobi got there, they would definitely be confused, worried, and anxious. Far off. In an unknown location, Shizune slowly opened her eyes and released a cough. She couldn't see. More than likely she was blindfolded. She couldn't move, so she was shackled. The thing beneath her was wobbly, so she was sitting in a chair. Where am I? Shizune thought to herself before she heard the sound of a hatch door opening. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Ah, you're awake. That's good. You know, there's nothing more I like than being a medic nin Kunoichi-san. I find it great to heal people, but also to injure them as well. I only have one simple question. Please tell me everything you know about Uzumaki Naruto-kun. The voice sounded smooth and soft. This was most likely a female's. Shizune remained silent, but she was indeed curious. What did this have to do with Naruto-kun? She couldn't see it, but the woman nodded. Nay, Kunoichi-san, how good are you at counting? The woman asked, much to Shizune's confusion. Shizune shivered, but she still didn't speak. The woman sighed with a nod. Kunoichi-san, tell me, what is 500 minus 7? The woman asked with a sharp giggle. Shizune didn't speak, but she didn't have to. She was sure that her body was doing all the talking for the woman Thatch could have wanted. Shizune closed her eyes behind her blindfold and chuckled to herself. She didn't know why,